Of course, although the Interstellar Peace Corporation was immensely powerful, it couldn't just reach into the solar system, a place Akivili had never been, and eliminate a Herrscher. So this lance, despite appearances, was not identical to the Abyss White Flower. At best, it only shared some superficial similarities. The corporation used superior materials, and in anyone else's hands it would be an excellent spear, but in Miss Eno's hands it could do far more. Miss Eno, after all, was a virus that could be extracted from people and absorbed by Luo Tianyi. Her transmission routes were ordinary and varied: direct contact, airborne droplets, blood, even electromagnetic waves. If she wanted, she could give the lance an enchantment similar to what the Blade of Tetanus provided. Most organic life forms whose wounds were infected by a Herrscher of corruption-level virus would be dead before they could make a second move. She could also convert imaginary energy into electrical energy, causing the lance to emit electromagnetic radiation that could infect machinery. The Interstellar Peace Corporation had added a few esoteric minor functions too, not necessary for daily use, but handy in a critical moment. How to use it? Alicia had wielded the Abyss White Flower briefly and would know the basics of lance-borne combat. Miss Eno carried most of Alicia's memories, so even without prior experience, she would learn quickly. "Oh, right, Alicia," Miss Eno mused aloud. "I should give it a name. I can't very well keep calling it the Abyss White Flower. This body of mine is connected to abundance, but the weapon itself neither withers nor creates." "Since it's your weapon, it suits you best to name it," Alicia replied. Miss Eno sifted through stored information for a moment, then shook her head. "No need for some grand mythological illusion. Keep it simple." She smiled. "We'll call it erosion." "Erosion suits you," Alicia agreed. After a quick farewell to Asta, Miss Eno had only taken a few steps when Stella came running up. "You're really here. Did something happen?" Miss Eno asked. Stella told the story from the start. As usual, after finishing the simulated universe, she had been wandering Herta space stations, searching for new trash cans. Before she reached the master control zone, she received an odd text from Rocky, a staffer in the general geology department. When Stella finally found Rocky, she learned that he and his crush Leslie had been keeping in touch even though they were far apart. They'd been exchanging messages happily, and then Rocky confessed his feelings. Leslie delayed replying. Rocky's mentor Bernard, a senior in the same department, assumed Leslie was just lazy, but Rocky suspected the galactic radio relay that handled their communications had been tampered with. Stella inspected the relay and found abnormalities traced to a missing supernickel component. "I checked the surveillance in the relay room," Stella said. "If someone sabotaged it, I had to take a few detours on the repulsion bridge to avoid being seen." Ms. Eno sighed. "If the fault were a software error, I could fix it instantly, but a missing hardware component, I can't conjure metal out of nothing." "All right, I'll help," Miss Eno said after a moment. "Take the video evidence and confront Bernard. I'll have the other staffers fix the relay." "Aren't you coming with me?" "No." Miss Eno's voice softened. "If I go, my involvement will become pressure. Maybe Bernard had reasons." She had spent days observing and thinking. For ordinary staff, a genius's encouragement or censure was the single greatest motivator. Conversely, a genius's disapproval could feel like a career death sentence. If Miss Eno and Stella confronted Bernard together, the situation would be perceived as Miss Eno is displeased with Bernard. Even if Bernard had good reasons and Miss Eno ultimately agreed he was not in the wrong, other staff would blindly side against him. Miss Eno had no intention of ruining Bernard's career. She was only curious about Rocky and Leslie's story. So she stayed out of the confrontation and set a dozen staffers to work. 15 minutes later, the relay was fully repaired. Miss Eno laid a hand on the restored unit and began to read the recovered transmissions. Signal translation record. Amber year, 2157 months 40 to 43. Source, unknown, beyond detectable range. Recipient, Herta, Rocky Martinez. "Hello, Rocky. The Interstellar Expedition Team has landed on an inner planet in a star system next to the abundant starfield. The air here is so fresh. It's not territory of a star god, but just being nearby has produced very high oxygen levels. This is my first time witnessing a divine descent. Everything learned on paper is only ever shallow." "Ah, the relay signal's about to end. I feel like I've rambled." Stay at Herta and work hard. Strive to be like that senior Jose you admire and get out to see the stars soon. Sender, Herta Rocky Martinez. Destination, unknown, beyond detectable range. Leslie, congratulations on arriving safely. Don't worry, I got an excellent rating on my last assessment, and I'm sure I'll get another. What you said isn't nonsense. Tell me everything you see. I'll be waiting for your news. Miss Eno nodded. Two friends sharing their lives after parting. But affection often grows out of those little exchanges, doesn't it? Alicia chimed, playful. Miss Eno continued. Signal translation record, Amber year 2157, months 44 to 47. Sender, Herta, Rocky Martinez, destination, unknown. Leslie, are you still carrying the star prospecting drill I gave you? You used to say it was hard to use, but I read an old text today and learned a technique. When probing the earth, hold the drill straight and true. Straight means not bent, true means not crooked. Hold with both arms and probe vertically. To test straightness, use a mirror to focus light. If the light reaches the bottom of the hole, it's correct. If it hits the side, it's crooked. Memorize it and tell me if it works. Sender, unknown, beyond detectable range. Recipient, Herta Rocky Martinez. Oh, Rocky, those drills are antiques. Ours are in the collection cabinet, right? Our expedition team uses equipment from the Interstellar Peace Corporation now. Since it's the drill you gave me, I'll study it and try it. Maybe I'll find some rare ore. By the way, you always research rocks. What color ore do you like best? I'll go look for some. They keep talking about that star prospecting drill, Ms. Eno observed. Looks like they're moving fast. Gift stage incoming. Signal translation record, Amber year 2157, months 48 to 51. Source, unknown, beyond detectable range. Recipient, Herta, Rocky Martinez. Rocky, do you know what I'm seeing right now? The main star of the abundant starfield is undergoing a gravitational collapse caused by an unknown force, and it's triggered a starquake. There are dazzling cosmic flashes and gamma afterglows everywhere. It's once in a lifetime, but my teammate who said they'd come with me ran off early. I wish you were here. Don't be mad, okay? Sender, Herta, Rocky Martinez, destination, unknown. Ran away? That's for the best. Don't trust that guy again. I'm not angry. Actually, I regret arguing. When you said starquake, I nearly had a heart attack, worried something happened to you. But now I see the beauty of a starquake comes with danger. Next time, let's go together. Even if it's dangerous, I'll be by your side. What I mean is, if possible, I want to be with you always. Do you understand what I mean? After a little let-in, they've reached the confession stage, Alicia hummed happily. But the starquake Leslie encountered. Stella looked at Ms. Eno. I'll check, Ms. Eno said. Her authority inside Herta space station was considerable. A quick search let her access the station's databases. The technical file was clear. A starquake is the rupturing of a neutron star's crust and releases gamma-ray bursts. If protected, people won't be physically harmed. However, the gravitational collapse from such an event significantly alters space-time curvature in the affected starfield. That causes the rate of time flow near the epicenter to deviate from standard system time. In regions of anomalous gravity, time slows dramatically. This means that for every month Rocky spends on Herta, Leslie experiences only a few days, Miss Eno said. I hadn't expected love to be cheated by time, Alicia muttered. Stella finished interviewing Bernard, Stella reported. He tampered with the relay because he didn't want Rocky to learn that the starquake had separated them in time. So now there are two records, the truth and Bernard's lie, Alicia said, raising an eyebrow at Ms. Eno. Ms. Eno thought for a moment. Tell Rocky the truth. Me too, Alicia agreed, but not because the truth must be hidden. I can tell Rocky is the sort who won't crumble because of it. Miss Eno sent her choice to Stella and walked to the general geology department. Rocky had just read Stella's printout. He sat stunned. So she went into the future, and I'm in the present. The long months I spend missing her might be nothing to her. Just a moment, he said aloud, voice hollow. I never thought even time could be unfair like this. Rocky laughed bitterly. So I'm supposed to wait? Grow old here while for her it's barely days? No, I'm not that naive. I won't just sit and wait. Stell hesitated. You won't wait, but you'll go after her? Yes. Rocky's eyes burned with sudden clarity. If her space-time curve is a canyon, I won't hope she'll come out. I'll cross it myself. Maybe it'll take me 10 years to find her, while for her it's only a month, but then our time flow can sync. It's better than sitting here waiting to die. Won't you agree? No matter how you look at it, I've decided. If traveling past the stars and escaping gravity is the only way to love, I'll cross the cosmos under the witness of countless stars and find her beyond those faint lights. The universe has unknown dangers and lonely, magnificent wonders, and the person I've been searching for. When I find Leslie, one day I'll return and tell you everything I saw. Ms. Eno's eyes widened. She had expected Rocky to take the truth calmly, but never imagined he'd vow to chase time itself. Oh my, willing to chase time for the one he loves. What a romantic story, she purred. Rocky, finishing a quick tidy before leaving, saw Miss Eno not far away. He realized she had heard everything. Miss Eno, I hope you cross time and reunite with Leslie soon, she said. Rocky stood frozen, his mind reeling. A genius had heard his vow and blessed it. He bowed over and over, unable to speak, his face flushed with astonished gratitude. Then, with his head held high, he strode out of the office, carrying his decision into the stars. Watching him go, Eno felt an unfamiliar warmth stir inside her. For reasons she couldn't name, admiration had taken root. 22. Ceremony. After Rocky left, Eno looked at Star beside her. By the way, I heard Miss Herta say you're going to board the Astral Express? She asked. Yes, Himeko invited me, and the others didn't object. To be honest, I didn't really know where I should go. Everyone on the Astral Express has been so kind to me, and I'm genuinely excited about the unknown journey. Then, can I board the express with you? Star blinked. You're a genius. Everyone probably wouldn't refuse, right? Never mind, I'll go ask them. Star dashed off. Alicia clapped in the consciousness space. It seems that story touched Miss Eno too. In a sense, we're both people who have crossed time and space. I can now make up my mind and set out on a new journey with you, Eno said. I'm looking forward to traveling with Eno. I'm sure we'll encounter romance after romance and make unforgettable memories. Somewhere in the universe, an Aeon of elation who preferred to remain anonymous watched the scene, a troubled expression frozen behind its mask. Even dead, he could still persuade someone the machine had admired to take the trailblaze path. Hockey wary, you rascal. Soon the other members of the Astral Express responded in turn. March 7th. Miss Eno wants to be a Nameless too? Yay! That means I won't be the only pretty girl on the Express. A genius willing to join the Astral Express is an unequivocal benefit. Not only will she add an extra layer of security on future trailblaze journeys, she'll also give the Express more bargaining power with other forces. Welt, to be honest, I have a lot of questions I want to ask Miss Eno. Himeko, it seems everyone welcomes Miss Eno. The Express won't turn away anyone who wants to board. However, even a genius who becomes a Nameless has certain obligations. We should make those clear beforehand. We can be clear now. Since we're one family on the Astral Express, everyone can just call me Eno. March 7th. Okay, Eno, wait. It doesn't show you joined the group chat. How did you get in? You're all connected through Herta Space Station's network. I just followed the network cable to get in. March 7th. Eno, can you literally break through a dimensional wall? No, she's still right next to me. That's just Eno's way of speaking. In reality, she probably hacked into the group chat with advanced tech. Theoretically, under certain conditions, I can literally follow a network cable. After all, I am, in a sense, an electronic virus. March 7th. Star. All right, everyone, let's continue this on the Express. Eno and Star exchanged a glance and walked together toward the platform where the Astral Express was docked. Having spent time on the Express before, Eno didn't explore with the same curiosity Star had. March 7th was the first to ask once they were aboard. What did you mean back in the chat? Eno hesitated, then answered clearly. Literally. Just as Screwlum's species is mechanical, my species is a virus, specifically a self-aware virus with traits of both biological and electronic viruses. Dan Heng's expression shifted to one of understanding. When Eno first met Miss Herta, she called you an anti-organic virus. It wasn't metaphor or jargon. She recognized your species from the start. Eno nodded. Yes. March 7th, squealed. Wow, now we're really getting a very interesting new companion. Dan Heng, more solemn than excited, added, Infection and erosion are the nature of viruses. From the standpoint of most intelligent life, viruses are born with an original sin. They should be controlled or eliminated. For Eno not only to overcome that primal impulse, but to walk the path of erudition, that's an extraordinary accomplishment. Welt looked like he remembered something, but swallowed the words. Imagine if you, this virus capable of effortlessly solving the anti-organic equation, had chosen not erudition, but destruction or propagation. Before an aeon intervened, the whole universe could have faced a catastrophe no smaller than the Emperor War. Eno blinked inwardly. I'm that powerful? At that moment, Pom-Pom scurried into the observation car, anxious. Conductor, something's wrong. What is it, Pom-Pom? The conductor asked. Passenger Star, while touring the express. Got stuck in the ventilation duct, Pom. I'll go check. March 7th cried, bolting off. I always feel something will go wrong with March. If you're worried, why don't we go see for ourselves? Dan Heng suggested. Sometime later, Dan Heng pulled Star out of a ventilation duct, along with March 7th, who had been trying to rescue her. Before he could speak, March 7th babbled out an explanation. I heard a noise in the duct and thought something was hiding there, so I climbed in to look and I got stuck. I didn't expect the surprise to be Star. Star, anything to say? The conductor asked. Star blinked. I heard a sound in the duct. Pom-Pom cut in. No nesting dolls, Pom. All right, on such an important day, this conductor won't scold anyone. Passenger Star, are you willing to join the Astral Express and become a Nameless? Huh? I thought I already was. It's not that simple. You haven't undergone the trial of Uncle Yang's 18 mech soldiers array, so you aren't a qualified Nameless yet. Welt pushed up his glasses. Little March hasn't done it either. I'll prepare it and let you both challenge Uncle Yang's 18 mech soldiers array tomorrow afternoon. No. Little March was just being silly. She was only joking. March 7th protested. You don't need to rush your answer, Pom-Pom continued. Becoming a Nameless means you no longer long for the past, but choose to trailblaze the future. You love exploring the world more than clinging to home. You must say a temporary farewell to your familiar life and venture into unknown worlds. You must no longer crave solid ground beneath your feet. Instead, see the distant star dome as your homeland. And most importantly, becoming a Nameless means your responsibilities will far outweigh your gains. Passenger Star, even so, do you still want to become a Nameless? Star considered carefully, then planted her hands on her hips and shouted, I'm not going to be a Nameless anymore, Pom-Pom. Since you've decided to become what? You actually refuse. All right then, Passenger Star, if you're not a Nameless, what do you want to be? Star adopted a mock-serious expression, voice firm. I want to be a riddle maker, Babby Babber Babbala. For a moment she drifted into a daydream, imagining absurd technical gibberish about making the most postmodern phenomenal ontological stainless steel burger by manipulating discrete variables and applying active earth pressure to perform energy index stripping on acrylic paint, and then filling out divorce applications for adjacent buildings according to electronic wire foldback of set constructive symbols, aligning granularity and self-fusing. A rap on her head brought Star back. Stop, no more daydreaming. Choose carefully. The Star Core spirit, an entity naturally abstract and sacred, grew serious. I choose to become a Nameless. Yay! We'll be the best Trailblazer partners. March 7th cheered. Since the Trailblazer has decided, please gather in a circle and prepare to begin the ceremony for new members joining the Astral Express, POM, the conductor announced. A ceremony? It won't be some kind of oath of allegiance, will it? Someone fretted. That's right. In one case, when this girl became a Nameless, I personally crushed. All right, I can't go on. The Astral Express isn't some criminal organization. Passenger Star, just repeat the Trailblazers' creed after me. 1. Even if paths rise and fall, Trailblazers must have their own convictions. 2. Even when facing stormy waves, the Express crew must move as one. 3. Even in peril, one must resist injustice. 4. Even if forgotten by the world, one should not care for the aftermath. 5. Even if the galaxy is shrouded in twilight, one should still illuminate the long night. 6. Even if chaos reigns, one must look forward and crush the disorder. May this journey ultimately reach the Star Dome. 23. Party car, excellent. Now Passenger Star is a Nameless. So, Passenger Eno, are you willing to become a nameless too, like Passenger Star? Eno immediately echoed Star, reciting the Trailblazer's creed. There was no embarrassment in it for her, only a curious newness. She noticed Alicia reciting along as well. Eno, welcome to the Nameless. I believe with you aboard, the future journey of the Trailblaze will go even smoother. Feeling the group's warmth, Eno was touched. The people at the space station had been kind, but a little too formal. Here she could relax. Since both new passengers are now nameless, they should each have rooms on the Astral Express. However, the Astral Express only has 4 guest rooms right now. Strictly speaking, 3. Dan Heng even sleeps in the archive room. I don't mind, Eno shrugged. If rooms are tight, I could live inside someone's computer. That might be weird. That won't do. Now that Passenger Eno is a nameless, it's my duty as conductor to solve the accommodation issue. Decided. We'll convert the next carriage into a guest room carriage. As for Passenger Star, don't worry, conductor. We've already thought about it. There's an unused room on the 2nd floor of the party carriage that can be converted into her room. Party carriage? Ah, Eno hasn't seen it yet, has she? It's right in front of the observation carriage. Perfect. The renovation will take some time, so let's go check out the party carriage first. They stepped into the party carriage. The first thing that caught their eyes was a stylish bar. Behind it stood a peculiarly shaped robot. Its hands tapped the inner wall of the counter as it hummed a tune. Too much of the past for one to memorize. Noticing their arrival, the round-headed robot gestured excitedly. Welcome, dear Nameless. You all look radiant. Has something good happened? Could it be that party time is finally upon us? This beautiful young lady looks familiar, and this silver-haired one, new friends who've just boarded the train? March 7th looked at Eno with obvious pride. That's right, she's a genius who encountered erudition. Genius. Need a party opener joke? Do you know how people meet erudition? By holding a World Expo. See? World Expo and View Expo. They sound the same. Hilarious. Silence. Thank you. Perhaps you should have been formatted before being put in charge of this carriage. Please note, formatting the device will clear all data, including user dining habits, calorie plans, metabolic efficiency, etc. Improper operation during formatting may lead to serious consequences, including but not limited to vital system malfunction or train derailment. Lost dining data may even trigger a new core disaster. Of course, these are just little jokes before the party. Himeko gave a look that said this was happening again. See? It's starting. At that, Eno raised her hand as if to actually format the device. I was only saying. Silence is, after all, something left behind by the Void Archives. If the frequency of bad jokes could be lower, it might still be useful. Himeko stopped her before she could do anything. Eno had already picked up plenty of information from her contact with Silence, but because Himeko intervened, she hadn't actually formatted it. Void Archives. Cough, cuff, cuff. Uncle Yang, what's wrong? March, I'm fine. I just remembered something from before. All this noise reminds Pom Pom of the old days. When this was the conference carriage, passengers would vote loudly here on the next destination. Let's get back to business. Upstairs in this carriage, there's a very large utility room that's mostly unused. It's perfect for Star's room. Which had quieted, piped up again. Miss Star, do you know why the utility room on the 2nd floor is suitable for you? Because you haven't been there yet, so of course it's Star's room. See? Star's room and new room are homophones. Hilarious. Star didn't freeze at the pun. I'm living in a utility room? Really? Will an owl send me an acceptance letter from the company? Isn't it enough that Pom Pom gave you the Astral Express ticket? Don't complain. Your room's the biggest on the whole train, big enough to fit a doomsday beast. How could a doomsday beast sleep peacefully beside my couch? Haha, young people are still so energetic. All right, March, you and the conductor go show Star the room. Eno, come with me. Eno and Himeko moved to a different carriage. It looked nearly empty, just 2 rows of benches. Himeko, what was this carriage used for originally? You're asking because the Astral Express is so long, but besides the guest room carriages, the observation carriage, and the party carriage, most carriages are basically unused, right? That's not wrong. The biggest use of the remaining carriages is actually for landings. Landing? If we follow our predecessors and study the planet we're headed toward, we can choose a relatively safe place to land. But the trailblaze often goes into the unknown. There are planets even a Kivili has never reached. We don't know what's down there. If we land the train conventionally, we could end up in dangerous spots. So, when necessary, we separate tail carriages and turn them into independent flyers, allowing Nameless to land in safer locations. However, we only do that when we must. Since the Astral Express set sail, every time we've separated carriages to land, the detached carriages have required repairs, 100% of the time. The conductor will come by after making plans for Star. You can start thinking about the decor you like. I'll go check on the others. Himeko left. The space was practically a blank slate. Ino didn't know how to decorate at all. Alicia, this is our home. We can't be careless. We have to think it through. Then, I'll leave it to Alicia. Leave it to me. I've been idle lately. It's nice to be able to help you, Ino. By the way, Ino, I can feel you've been happier since coming aboard the Astral Express. Yes, being on the Astral Express has given me a new feeling. Put together with what you just said, Alicia, this is probably what having a home feels like. However what? But more importantly, on the Trailblaze, being able to be with Alicia. Oh my, that's heartwarming, but I'm very happy to be with you too, Ino. 24. Showdown. While Alicia finalized the decor, Ino told Pom Pom which renovation materials and furniture were needed so the Astral Express could fetch them. With the 2 new Nameless rooms still under renovation, Ino returned to the space station, chatting with Herta as she watched the stars of Eden test the simulated universe and continued to explore her own powers. She discovered that when she infused erosion with the path energy of erudition but still used it as a regular lance, the weapon's destructive power increased. The path energy seemed to enchant the blade. Interesting. Every genius has their own way of fighting, Herta said. But you're the first I've seen who chooses close combat with a cold weapon. You've taken a path no one else has. Ino blinked. Herta, I thought you'd... Think what? That using cold weapons makes you any less of a genius? Other geniuses don't avoid cold weapons because they can't. They just don't, like you, know how to pick one up and use it instinctively. The time it would take to go from novice to proficient is better spent achieving breakthroughs elsewhere. Oh, right. Himeko said the Astral Express is about to leave. You'll be leaving the space station soon too, won't you? For you, almost everything here is already familiar. The unknown parts of the simulated universe are likely tied to the aeons. Following the Astral Express is a fast way to turn the unknown into the known. If you have time later, come back. Raiden May should be here by then. Like I said, she's more interested in you than I am. Back on the Astral Express, Pom Pom waddled up. Passenger, according to the plan, the train will depart for the next stop shortly. Renovation materials have been procured, but the work will still take some time. I'm afraid I must inconvenience you for now. Ino shrugged. When Pom Pom mentioned that Star's room would take less material and manpower, Ino suggested finishing Star's room first so the train's schedule wouldn't be delayed. By the way, Pom Pom, you said my room needs more time. Has the room on the party car's second floor already been renovated? That's right. Passenger Star has moved in and is probably checking the facilities. In the party car was mixing drinks. From its data, Ino already knew that Void Archives and Welt had boarded before Dan Heng on March 7th, though Void Archives had disembarked mid-route and was currently missing. Chirped, "Hello, dear Nameless. Passenger Dan Heng left the car a short while ago. Do you know what sound he makes when he's angry and about to fight? Chi de long dong chiang. It's a homophone. So angry a dragon moves its gun. It's hilarious." Ino ignored the cold joke and placed a hand on Silent's head. Through its memories, she learned Star was in the second-floor room. She climbed the stairs and at the door heard the sound of water. After the automatic door opened, she could hear Star humming while bathing. I thought I was no more than a bystander till I felt a touch so real. I will no longer be a transient when I see smiles with tears. Ino didn't intrude. She stood in the doorway and waited. After the bath, Star had changed into clothes identical to her original outfit and noticed her standing there. "You've been outside the whole time." After all, it's your room. Barging in while you were bathing would have been rude. I just arrived. So why are you here? I wanted to ask, what do you expect from the upcoming Trailblaze? We're both newcomers who just became nameless. Star thought seriously for a moment, then gave an answer that surprised both Eno and Alicia. I hope to find more trash cans at the next stop. Eno tried to conceal her bafflement. Right. I suppose even Herta can't entirely fathom your thinking. Well, good luck. Unable to continue the conversation, Eno left Star's room and returned to the party car, where March 7th and Welt were standing. Is Star still in her room? The train will jump soon. She just finished her bath, March 7th said, then hurried toward the stairs. Eno's gaze drifted back to the simulated stars of Eden. Mr. Welt, you seem to have a lot of questions for me. Welt looked nervous. You look the same. Why don't you ask first? Being able to create divine keys yourself, are you the Herrscher of Reason from the previous civilization? Welt breathed deeply. I used to be. Later, I found a more suitable person, and she really brought the Herrscher of Reason's power to its fullest. Eno's tone grew heavier. You know many things about Hengtie, even stuff from the previous civilization, and you said you were a virus. As far as I know, the only one who fits that description is the Herrscher of Corruption. I used to be, too, in a sense. Eno's voice was quiet. My body no longer contains an imaginary singularity. In a narrow sense, I don't strictly fit the definition of a Herrscher now. We shouldn't have met before. Where did you learn about the Herrscher of Corruption? Welt asked. From Raiden Mai. She's a Herrscher as well. Welt's palms were slick with sweat. The rush of unease that had ridden him since guessing Eno's identity finally eased a little. If the Herrscher of Corruption, who everyone had thought was eliminated, was really here, the Astral Express could be in grave danger. He didn't imagine he or the other Nameless would be a match for a genius who could casually crack the anti-organic equation. Still, their previous encounters on Broken Star and the staff's reports from Herta Space Station suggested there was room for communication. Fortunately, the conversation didn't spiral into conflict. Later, in the observation car, Eno lay on the sofa with her eyes half closed. She could feel Alicia's excitement like a pulse. The moment she entered Alicia's mental space, Alicia's hands took hers. I knew it. May and her companions really did it, Alicia sang. Eno, Alicia, She began to speak, but the melancholy that had been sitting on her chest was washed away by Alicia's overflowing joy. It was as if Alicia's mood had infected her. Hearing such news, shouldn't we be even happier? Alicia cupped Eno's cheeks. Eno, since Earth's battle with Hengtie has ended, doesn't that mean we can set down our burdens, say goodbye to our old selves, and move forward? If it weren't for you, I probably couldn't enjoy the journey ahead at all, Alicia continued. But as Raiden May said, there's always give and take. Eno doesn't need regrets. Whether it's witnessing life after defeating Hengtie or starting a new journey with me, both are good. Both are good, so no matter which path we choose, we should face the future smiling, right? Or, would going with me make you sad? Eno put a hand on Alicia's arm. Alicia, no, it's not like that. Alicia giggled at the rising flush on Eno's face. Haha, sorry, you're adorable. I couldn't help teasing you. I'm in your heart right now. No one understands your feelings better than I do. Eno rested her head on Alicia's shoulder and breathed in her warmth and the steady rhythm of her breath. As she relaxed, a small smile found her lips and her legs swayed gently. This way, she realized, it wasn't so bad after all. 25. Extra, approaching the starry sky. Long live the Herrscher of the Eclipse. This segment is sponsored by the Interstellar Peace Corporation. Inside the Interstellar Peace Corporation studio, a Wubbaboo host held a script and ran through its lines one last time. This part needs more weight. This part should be more emotional. Hey, it's already started. Cough, cough. Remember to cut this part, an off-screen producer warned. Jimmy, as always, straightened its little hat and quickly shifted its expression. The anti-organic equation that terrifies the whole universe. She can crack it with a flick of her fingers. People will be curious how the 85th member of the Genius Society will make her mark across the stars. In this episode of Stardome Close-Up, let us get to know this rising genius, Miss Eno. Insert Eno's illustration. Whether you have a concept of morning, noon, or night, good morning, noon, and night to you all. I'm your favorite host, G-Me. We're also honored to have Alan, head of the Defense Division of Herta Space Station, here to share his impressions of this nascent genius. Alan, making his first TV appearance, looked a little nervous and kept glancing away. Hello, G-Me. I'm honored to be invited. Haha, relax. Just tell us about Miss Eno from your point of view. Alan breathed evenly and began. Undoubtedly, Miss Eno, like Miss Herta, is a beautiful and formidable genius. She can be shy and hesitant at times, even pacing back and forth before speaking to staff as if preparing herself. But once you get to know her, you'll see she's actually very gentle and kind. Many of us on the station, myself included, have received her help, directly or indirectly. Thank you for sharing. The Interstellar Peace Corporation has established contact with this genius. We believe the corporation's weapons will lend even more brilliance to Ms. Eno's battles. Basic attack, unchanging yearning. Eno is an imaginary attribute character on the erudition path. Her basic attack deals imaginary damage to a single target and applies 1 stack of erosion to that enemy. Eroded enemies lose additional HP at the start of their next action. Each enemy has a maximum number of erosion stacks. The HP loss from erosion is a percentage of the target's total HP when it entered the field. It ignores defense, toughness, and shields. The more erosion stacks a target has, the larger the percentage of HP lost. Note, HP loss triggers at the start of the next action. If an eroded enemy acts multiple times in one turn, it will take HP loss damage at the start of each action based on its current erosion stacks. Skill. Entwined Distance. Eno's skill deals imaginary damage to all enemies and applies 1 erosion stack to each target. If an enemy is already eroded, it takes increased damage. During the Antimatter Legion's assault on the space station, Miss Eno, unarmed, single-handedly cleared a path by eliminating many Voyagers. Gentleness and kindness do not mean weakness, G-Me intoned. When faced with vicious foes, Miss Eno wields erosion and displays terrifying strength. Ultimate. Soul's Flutter. Eno's ultimate deals imaginary damage to all enemies and applies 1 erosion to each. If a target is already eroded, she also inflicts an additional instance of HP loss based on its erosion stacks and delays that target's next action. After unlocking a specific trace, while Eno is on the team, she regenerates additional energy when allies damage eroded enemies. The more eroded targets hit by teammates, the more energy Eno recovers. Technique. Eroding your heart. When activated before battle, enemies in each wave gain 1 erosion stack upon entering the field and immediately suffer 1 instance of HP loss. Finally, after unlocking a certain trace, unexpected effects may manifest in the simulated universe. To summarize, G-Me said, Eno's basic attack, skill, and ultimate all apply and build erosion. Spreading and stacking erosion is her core method of output. Now, let's watch a live battle demonstration. In this simulation, Miss Eno's teammates are Herta and Station Master Asta. Because Eno used her technique before entering, all enemies start with 1 erosion. Eno strikes first, using her skill to damage every enemy and add another erosion stack to all of them. Asta and Herta follow up, hammering the small fry to the brink of death. Oh, they dare fight back? Too bad. Facing Miss Eno, you won't get the chance. The small fry take HP loss damage at the start of their turns and drop dead on the spot. Only 1 stubborn elite remains. Ouch, that hurt, but its good days are numbered. After those attacks, its erosion has risen to 4 stacks, and Eno's ultimate is ready. Just as it prepared to act, Eno unleashes her ultimate, removing the enemy from the action queue. The delay pushes its turn back to our next round. Its life is now like a candle in the wind. Miss Eno and her teammates quickly finish the fight. Job done. At that moment, Alan's comm device buzzed. Mr. G-Me, your department's system just suffered an unknown intrusion, but Miss Eno intercepted the attack and restored the deleted data. Ha ha ha, Miss Eno really is as helpful as the rumors say. Abnormal deleted data restored. Continue accessing original web page? Without thinking, G-Me clicked Continue Access. The studio screen opened a web page and a video autoplayed. A line of subtitles scrolled across the top. Add friends to watch more adorable Tingjun videos, great value, and various options like Wubbaboo for you to choose from. No, what did you download on the company computer earlier? No, stop broadcasting, stop it now! I tried to imitate the official style. There will be other characters later. If you're interested, I'll write detailed notes on Ino's skill, ultimate, eidolons, and light cone later. It's definitely not because I want the dot team to be great again. Manual Doghead. Tuang Sangbo. Welt soon left the party car and went to the observation car, where Himeko was waiting. What did you find? She does come from the same place as I do. There were some ugly incidents between her and my juniors in the past, and how she wound up here is unclear, but I'm certain she's now, like me, a nameless far from home. I trust your judgment. If that's true, at the next stop, have her join March 7th, Dan Heng, and Star. Her presence will make this trip more interesting. The four who were going to disembark exchanged a few words. After a while, everyone gathered in the observation car. The warp jump is about to begin. Passenger March 7th, please return to your seat and fasten your seatbelt. You don't need to remind me, Pom-Pom. We've warped so many times already. Because passenger March 7th always wants to test herself and then takes a tumble? Heh, that's called indomitable spirit. True to form, March 7th planted herself in the center of the car, muttering defiantly. After a violent shudder and a thud, she predictably fell to the floor, just like every other jump. When the doors opened, they were met by a vast white planet stretching to the horizon. Thousands of years passed, and Jaralova 6 looks like this. I suppose this trailblaze won't be easy, Himeko said, sighing. Before she finished, Pom-Pom popped up with an alert. Spatial readings abnormal. Stardome stability at 12%. Docking plan changed. Docking time at this station extended from 7 days to indefinite. Abnormal? Indefinite? Star, who just boarded the Astral Express, frowned. To use a land train metaphor, it's like the track ahead just collapsed into a bottomless pit. We can only make an emergency stop. March 7th sounded resigned. If nothing bizarre happens, this is because of... The preliminary report's in. The anomaly's root cause is the Stellaron. I knew it. Stellaron? Yes, it's the same thing that's inside your body. Those who'd been on the Trailblaze before reacted calmly. Himeko said, no need to panic. This isn't the first time a route's been blocked by a Stellaron. There are still mysteries Herta can't fully explain, but we do have countermeasures. Welt added, what's certain is that Stellarons trigger extreme shifts in civilizations and ecosystems, and they create spatial distortions like fragmentum. Jaralov 6 turning into an ice world is tied to a Stellaron's influence. Himeko continued, we suspect Stellarons are seeds of disaster sown by an aeon across worlds. Unless we find and remove their source, the Trailblaze can't progress. Ino reluctantly detached herself from Alicia and returned her attention to the conversation. Most theories link the Stellaron to the Aeon of Destruction, Nanook. It seems the genius's contemplation is complete. The goal of this Trailblaze is clear. Find the Stellaron that doomed this world and caused the spatial rifts. After a few more instructions from Himeko and Welt, the four left the Astral Express. In an instant, the observation car's view gave way to a boundless snowfield. Jarilo 6, we're here. Ino stared at the expanse. In her memory, only one place resembled this, Alicia's homeland, Vostok 51, on the Shenzhou-Siberia border. It's been a long time since I've seen this kind of snowfall. It reminds me of the orphanage. This weather will complicate the Trailblaze. Even with coordinates, the heavy snow and driving wind made travel difficult. Star glanced at March 7th. Why don't we just land right at our destination? Dan Heng shot March 7th a look. Do you want me to remind you about the time you smashed a hole in the Tekkan Grand Stadium, or will you? Ah, let's not. Anyway, landing in a place with no inhabitants is the main thing. They moved toward the coordinates, spotting fragmentum creatures drifting through the air. Ino pulled out erosion, prodded one lightly, and without injecting much virus, watched it disperse like smoke. Like a void ranger, it vanishes with a touch. Why are the creations of destruction so fragile? Dan Heng and March 7th exchanged awkward, silent smiles. Suddenly, the snowdrift ahead of March 7th stirred. Hey, do you see that? Something's moving in there. There is someone in that drift, Star said. Ino walked up, flipped her grip on erosion, and slammed it down. The man inside the drift sprang out, rubbing his shoulders. Oh, hey, sister, hiding in a snowdrift isn't a crime. You didn't have to hit me with that thing. It's not the hero's fault. Heh, I popped out so suddenly, a little bruise is deserved. How else would I meet such good friends? Excuse me, has Commander Gibbard come through? I know him well. Who? Oh, you're not Silvermane guards? You should have said so. Our people fighting our people. What a waste. My name's Sampo Koski. Pleased to meet you. Everyone started to step forward to introduce themselves, but Ino frowned. Wait, didn't you want to say something else? Sister, I don't know what you mean. I told you who I am and what I do, including that you're a Pathstrider? Humph. I thought you were going to say something important. Belobog was built by the architects. Of course I'm a Pathstrider. Sampo hadn't finished when Ino cut him off. But you're not a Pathstrider of preservation. Dan Heng and March 7th, unusually synchronized, both showed surprise. Ino, how did you figure that out? In Herda's simulated universe, you run into simulated Pathstriders and even simulated Aeons. The way imaginary energy circulates in different Pathstriders varies, like different wavelengths of light. I did some shallow research on simulated Pathstriders. Since the simulated Qlipoth was the first Aeon I attracted, I looked into the preservation faction a bit more thoroughly. From that brief contact just now, I can't be certain what path Sampo follows, but his imaginary energy circulation definitely isn't Architect's style. Sampo's expression fell. Dan Heng pulled March 7th and Star back a step and thumbed the safety off Cloudpiercer. No need to be hostile. We don't know each other. Exactly because it's our first meeting, we can't trust someone who might lie any second. Then, heroes, what do I have to do to earn your trust? Ask me anything. I'll tell you everything. No need, Ino said. Just stay still. She laid her right hand on Sampo's shoulder. He felt something press into him. His instincts screamed danger, and he held his breath. It only lasted a few minutes. Sampo Koski, male, from the underworld of Belobog, Jarilo 6, currently wanted by the Silvermane guards for resale and smuggling of contraband, Sampo sputtered. See? I didn't lie. In addition, Ino said, he's also a masked fool. 27. Zhang Beloberg. When someone called out masked fool, Dan Heng lowered the Cloudpiercer in his hand. The masked fool, compared to a Pathstrider of destruction, not as dangerous, but they do anything for their own amusement, and what they say is only a little more believable than an imaginary historian. Sampo pressed his right hand to his forehead. Come on, sis, he whined. If you can tell who I am, why not tell the whole story? I'm Sampo. I haven't done anything wrong. Those businesses I run are just to survive, you know? Footsteps cut through the bickering. A squad of soldiers in Silvermane livery appeared, some carrying poleaxes, others blunderbusses. The Silvermane guards I mentioned, Sampo said with a shrug. Since you all look so capable, I'll leave them to you. He bolted before anyone could react and was gone in an instant. You scoundrel, Star spat. Masked fool, completely unreliable. Suspects and accomplices found. Arrest them, a voice called. Negotiation fell apart. The Nameless drew their weapons and, taking care not to kill, quickly incapacitated the soldiers in front of them. No sooner had they beaten back that squad than another group emerged from behind. Their leader had golden hair and the bearing of an officer. I am Gepard Landau, captain of the Silvermane Guards, he announced. Cease your resistance. Gepard surveyed the fallen guards, seemed to make a decision, and stepped forward. Star's expression shifted into one of alarm. Oh no, he's going to use his ultimate move. The men behind Gepard buzzed with excitement. Captain Gepard's ultimate move? I never thought we'd see it in person. Light shimmered on Gepard's palm. With a resolute air, he raised his fist, and an invisible shield bloomed around him. He then grabbed a bulky weapon from his back, leapt, and swung at the group. Dan Heng and Star braced for impact, but Ino surged forward from the rear. The tip of her erosion spear struck Gepard's weapon. A faint cracking ringed out, and recoil slammed both combatants back. They planted their weapons in the snow to steady themselves. On the face of it, the exchange looked even. March 7th observed quietly, covering himself and his weapon in imaginary energy to enhance defense, a typical preservation technique. Ino was surprised. She'd expected that hit to send Gepard flying. The shield on his surface, however, was thicker than she had guessed. She only managed to shove him back. The Silvermane guards, watching, were stunned. She actually pushed back Captain Gepard in a single strike. When did Belobog get such a powerful young woman? Is she from the underworld? Gepard was the most shaken. Not arrogant by nature, he nevertheless understood his own capabilities. That brief collision made him realize that if Eno had not held anything back, his body might have been pierced. March 7th sheathed her bow and arrow and spoke calmly. You should realize by now we're not allied with that Sampo. If we were his accomplices, why did he run just now? Wouldn't he have helped us take you down instead? Gepard hesitated. Your point has merit, but I am a captain, not a judge. As citizens of Belobog, you have rights to defense, but that should be determined under the architect's supervision, not by me. We're not citizens of Belobog either, Dan Heng said. Our clothes are different, and you don't seem to have heard of anyone as strong as her here, do you? Several guards wanted to argue, but March 7th's logic cut through the tension. Long ago, foreigners and interstellar travelers often came here, one murmured. But since the eternal freeze, no one has passed through the snow curtain to Belobog. Gepard looked conflicted. This is not ours to decide alone. If their story is true, only the Supreme Guardian can rule on it. We should bring them before the Supreme Guardian. Outsiders, follow me. Belobog lies beyond this snow curtain. They sheathed their weapons and followed Gepard through the snow curtain into the city. The air felt warmer inside. It's really not as cold here, huh? Someone muttered. Because you are in Belobog, the last stronghold of humanity, Gepard replied. 700 years ago, monsters from beyond the stars set the world ablaze. The land was scorched, molten rivers and choking black smoke everywhere. At the brink of extinction, the eternal freeze descended. Sudden gales buried the invaders in blizzards, and only Belobog remained. The tireless architects built this city. Under the protection of the Qlipoth of Preservation, Belobog may be lashed by wind and snow, but it stays eternally warm. March 7th's voice dropped as she tried to open her internal comms. His delivery just now, did you notice it sounded off? That wasn't his normal cadence. He's quoting some old text. Why tell us that, then? Gepard turned, cutting across her thought. Because you asked. A group of oddly dressed strangers escorted by the Silvermane guards quickly drew the citizens' attention. It's Captain Gepard. What's going on? Look at their clothes. So strange. Dan Heng and March 7th had both seen enough on the Trailblaze to take the stairs in stride. Being the odd ones out was familiar. Star, as usual, paid no mind to curious looks. Her gaze had locked on a trash can by a utility pole the moment they entered. Eno fared worse. 100 people clustered nearby, whispering and pointing. The attention made her sweat. Then a warm body pressed against her back like a parasol, shading her from a harsh sun, blotting out the glare. No words were exchanged, but from some deep, quiet place in her awareness, Eno felt her racing breaths slow. The presence steadied her, quiet, solid, and unyielding, until she could face the crowd without trembling. Strolling. They passed through the crowded administrative district and stopped in front of a tall building. We're here. This is Qlipoth Fort, heart of Belobog and the headquarters of the architects. It's a symbol of Qlipoth, the preservation. Under its guidance, the architects founded Belobog, keeping the flame of civilization alive against natural disasters and the cold tide. Out of respect, we named this fort after that aeon. Protected by Qlipoth, the architects have led the city forward for generations, defending it from threats beyond the walls. This fort is also the residence of the Supreme Guardian. The Supreme Guardian is Belobog's leader, chosen and appointed by the architects. She has watched over this city for generations and takes responsibility for its safety. The current guardian is Cocolia Rand. All major decisions in the city are issued by her. Before I take you to see Mother Cocolia, you might want to collect your thoughts. Her time is precious, and she prefers concise reports. Any specific courtesies we should be aware of? No need to be stiff. The Supreme Guardian doesn't care for elaborate formalities, and it's expected that newcomers won't know Belobog's etiquette. I sent a messenger ahead, so Mother Cocolia should already know who you are. Follow me. Inside Qlipoth Fort, an argument echoed through the hall. A silver-haired woman with 3 spirals in her hair was preparing to press her case, but the person before her dismissed her calmly. You may withdraw, Branya. The visitors have arrived. Yes, Mother. Branya left under the group's curious stares. What followed was smoother than anyone had dared hope. Cocolia did not question their identities as visitors from beyond the stars and agreed to investigate the Stellaron with them the next day. The negotiation seemed to go very well, but Ino, watching Cocolia closely, felt something was off. Cocolia's expressions and small mannerisms were the same as when she tried to observe reality while also wanting to chat with Alicia. Strange. Could Cocolia also contain two consciousnesses? After the group left Klipoth Fort, Cocolia summoned Gepard. When he stepped outside, she stared into an empty space nearby with a solemn expression. "It seems the plan needs some adjustments," she murmured. Outside Klipoth Fort, March 7th stretched lazily. "She seems reasonable enough. We still have time. Want to look around? Understanding local customs is part of the trailblaze, you know." March 7th was only looking for an excuse to have fun, but Dan Heng agreed they should relax. He found a local for suggestions, and they soon stood before the perpetual mechanical workshop. Didn't they say there would be a performance here?" March 7th asked. His exact words were that there would be a performance occasionally. "You filtered out the two most crucial words," Dan Heng replied. Ino wasn't really interested in performances. Her attention had fixed on a device outside the workshop that looked like a heating unit, but it seemed broken. She stepped up and tapped it lightly with her right index finger. "It's not a damaged component, just a control system fault." When she withdrew her hand, the once dim heater warmed and ran like the others in Belobog. A strikingly dressed blonde woman stepped out of the workshop and stared at Ino with surprise. "Little girl, I tried everything and couldn't fix this heater. I was about to scrap it. I didn't expect you to fix it with a touch. Would you consider being my assistant? Pays average, but I won't treat you unfairly." Dan Heng cut in. "Presumably you're the owner of this perpetual mechanical workshop." I'm Serval." A Silvermane guard with a loose tongue told me a group of visitors from beyond the stars had arrived. "That must be you. Nobody else would stare at a geothermic heating unit for this long." "Geothermic heating unit? Don't let its humble look fool you. It's a lifeline. With the blizzards outside, without reliable heating, both the upper city and the underworld of Belobog would become ghost towns." "Then why is it outside the house?" Serval looked at them as if it were obvious. "Same principle as building a fire to cook. If the house is a pot, the heater is the stove fire out in front." March 7th scratched her head. When you put it like that, it makes sense. "Oh, and you said Belobog has an upper and a lower level." "Right, you just arrived," Serval said. "Belobog is like two large, interconnected disks. The administrative district handles governance and trade. The underworld supplies energy and resources. But by order of the architects, there hasn't been free movement between the levels for many years." "I need to get back to work. Go explore. The workshop's always open, and we welcome spending money." She shut the door with a little hurry. March 7th glanced at the others. "Sounds like the relationship between the administrative district and the underworld is complicated. Hey, Ino, you said Sampo is from the underworld. If the two levels are sealed, how did he come up so easily?" Dan Heng shook his head. "I don't think it was easy. After he was arrested by the Silvermane guards for smuggling, he'd have every reason to find small paths the guards couldn't cover." A passage in the administrative district led underground, its entrance guarded by many Silvermane guards. Star had tried to force her way through by brute force and other methods, but in the end, she achieved only a delay. The area ahead would have to be explored later. "We don't want to meddle in local conflicts," Dan Heng said, "but sealing the Stellaron won't be possible without the Supreme Guardian's support. We should prepare for all eventualities." He looked at Ino. "But, before our lives are threatened, please don't use your true killing moves." "Don't worry. If Gepard is the strongest combatant in all of Belobog, then even in the worst case there won't be fatal danger." "Oh, come on. We're getting on so well with the Supreme Guardian right now that tomorrow the whole city might want us. We still have time. Let's split up, explore separately, and meet back at the Gotha Hotel at dusk." Agreed? They dispersed. Ino wandered until she stopped in front of the long summer flower shop. So many unfamiliar plants were displayed at the entrance, and a prominent sign read, "Marquise, our specialty, never on sale." "Wow, so many beautiful flowers," March 7th breathed. Each flower here symbolized a different wish. Marquise, with that name and the shop's note, was clearly a prized variety in Belobog. Had Ino come because she now liked flowers? No, no, she answered softly. Even with all her memories, Herta's calculations put her age below CC Gears. She shouldn't have developed lasting interests in so short a time. Then she swallowed. Alicia sensed her unease. I don't have Galatiu's ability. I can only observe with my eyes, and I found this place has the richest colors in all of Belobog. She once said, the more bright colors there are, the closer they get to flawless white when they merge together. So when there are the most bright colors around little sister Alicia, that's when she's happiest. 29. Marquise Zhang. Alicia didn't react, so Eno hurried to fill the silence. Of course I know. Galatiu meant that when everyone gets along, that's when you're happiest. But what? Aren't the colors around me bright and lively now? Huh? Being with you, Eno. Meeting companions with unique strengths, supporting each other toward the same goal, basking in sunlight, smelling flowers. You and I have discovered so many colors together. Of course I'm happy. Can I help you with anything, beautiful lady? Vaska, an employee at the Long Summer Flower Shop, had seen Eno staring at the stand outside and talking to herself. After the other customers left, she came out to check. Oh, those flowers are beautiful. Eno seized the obvious excuse. Then why not buy one? That way you can enjoy the flowers anytime. On the way, people shouted nearby, and Eno remembered Belobog's common currency, the Winter City Shield, so she grimaced slightly. But I only have credit points. That's fine. Our shop follows Belobog's regulations. Credit points work. 50 credit points equal 1 Winter City Shield. Didn't Belobog close for 700 years? How are credit points still the common currency? Never mind. Since I've already been given billions of credit points from Asta and Screwlum, I can afford a flower. Then I'll take a Marquise. Vaska's face mixed excitement with hesitation. The Marquise is extremely hard to cultivate. Right now, a single plant costs 2,000 Winter City Shields. That's 100,000 credit points. 100,000 credit points is still affordable. Eno produced 100,000 credit points immediately. Vaska blinked, then hurried inside and carefully brought out a blooming Marquise. A single purple flower hung on a brown stem. The inner faces of the petals were streaked with blue. It gave off a faint, clean fragrance. Please handle it carefully. A charming person like you suits the Marquise. Carrying the flower, Eno left the Long Summer Flower Shop and drew a fair bit of attention. Soon she noticed a distinct building where a woman in glasses and a Silvermane Guard's uniform was explaining the structure's history to a group of children. Star stood behind them. Let me introduce myself, the woman said. I'm Pella Sergeyevna, intelligence officer of the Silvermane Guards, and today's temporary guide for the Belobog history tour. You can call me Pella. The children chimed in with a sing-song repetition. Pella sister. Please, some adults don't imitate children. Pella moved on. All right, children, look, this is the Everwinter Monument. It was erected to honor the great architects. They foresaw the crisis, built these high walls, founded Belobog, and preserved the spark of human civilization. Even now, they govern this city. The monument has two parts, a gear symbolizing knowledge and industrial power, and a giant ice crystal representing the cold wave. These two symbols are tightly joined, the gear restraining the frost, a representation of the architect's refusal to bow to savage nature. So that's it. Eno, did you see Pella just now? She was so cute. Alicia, your attention is something else. After so long in Belobog, Pella is the first girl we could admire up close. I feel like we could really talk. Is it because both of you love storytelling, or because her voice is similar to ours? Maybe both. We'll only know if we try, but our luck doesn't seem great today. After finishing the tour, Pella glanced at the sky and hurried off. Oh no, that took longer than I expected. I hope Lingbao isn't waiting too long. The administrative district wasn't large, and Eno spent most of the day meandering through it, seeing almost every site. Night came, and she met Dan Heng and March 7th in Dan Heng's room at the Gotha Hotel as planned. March, back at Klipoth Fort, Dan Heng began. March 7th held up her right hand immediately. Stop! I know what you're going to say. March, you talked too much back then. You shouldn't have revealed our purpose to someone you don't trust. I know, it was because you and Star were vague and didn't speak plainly. But look, wasn't the result great? VIP treatment, a super luxurious hotel. This Trailblaze mission seems to be going smoothly. That's not exactly what I meant. At Clippeth Fort, did you notice the Supreme Guardian? I felt like her gaze kept wandering when she spoke to us, like there were other people in the room besides us. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. I think it's her guards. Ah, Star, you made it back. Maybe there are 500 axemen hidden out of sight, waiting for her to drop a cup as a signal. Then they'll rush in and take us all down. Dan Heng rubbed his forehead in exasperation. First, unless Clippeth Fort has a hidden space we can't observe with the naked eye, can't secretly hold 500 people. Second, Kokolia's desk didn't even have a cup. But Kokolia acted very strangely. I agree with Dan Heng. I have a bad feeling. Don't say it if you have one. Better to rest early. The next few days might be tough. They all returned to their rooms. Ino stared at the soft bed and felt a little awkward. She had discovered long ago that she didn't need sleep. When she felt tired, she only had to stand still for a moment. From rebirth, or rather, from birth until now, she had never really known fatigue, so a bedroom, practically speaking, was unnecessary. Still, that awkwardness quickly gave way to a sense of security and delight. In this private space, she could devote nearly all her attention to communicating with Alicia. Ino flopped down on the bed, spreading herself out. So this is what lying down feels like. This is Ino's first time on a bed, isn't it? How does it feel? It's comfortable. How about this? Huh? In the consciousness space, the pink part of the sofa suddenly lengthened until it was big enough to be a single bed. Alicia waved, and the moment Ino sat, a pair of hands gently cradled her shoulders and eased her back. Ino fell backward and immediately felt a peculiar, comforting sensation against the back of her head, more soothing than any pillow at the Goethe Hotel. It made her inexplicably at ease. How does it feel? Looking down, Ino realized she was lying in Alicia's lap. That's Alicia. How did you do that? Are you asking how I made the sofa longer? This is our consciousness space, so it changes with our thoughts. You didn't have to pay anything for it, did you? Why would you think that? Most people don't have the ability to fine-tune the shape of things in the consciousness space without a price. But you're different, Alicia. Making something look better is reason enough. Ino understands me. Don't worry, I'm fine. If you want the principle, I probably mobilized a portion of the imaginary energy linked to Ino's body. Imaginary energy, that barely makes sense. Even we, born from Hengtie, know little about it. From what I learned at the space station, the Erudition Society calculated that, based on 2 Emperor Wars, erudition could destroy a star in less than a microsecond. And I've been in physical contact with it for nearly a second without severe consequences. So, if I can master all the imaginary energy in my body, at least we would be able to protect ourselves in this dangerous universe. Alicia lowered her head slowly, and a few pink strands brushed Ino's face, tickling. She picked up a lock of Ino's long blue hair and twirled it through her fingers. I don't think you need to worry so much right now. Traveling on the Astral Express will make you stronger along the way. Now, Ino, try to rest. Tomorrow promises an even more exciting life. 30. Please understand, only Ino is allowed to enter today. Ino still hadn't experienced what it felt like to properly sleep. She had spent the night with her head on Alicia's lap and risen before dawn, standing by the window while the others slept. Outside, a squad of Silvermane guards approached across the snow, Bronya leading them, the same woman they'd met yesterday. From the corridor came movement. Ino opened her door and met Dan Heng's eyes. He'd clearly been awake for some time. March 7th and Star were roused by the clatter of boots and the knocking on the outer door, emerging from their rooms, rubbing their eyes and yawning. Ah, Ino, you're up so early, March 7th murmured. I haven't really slept, Ino said. I don't need sleep. Oh, the Silvermane guards are here. Dan Heng opened the door and looked at Bronya. Greetings. The Supreme Guardian awaits you outside Belobog. She sent us to escort you. Outside Belobog? Not Clippeth Fort, someone asked. Mother has her reasons, Bronya replied. According to the coordinates, the Stellaron is outside Belobog City, Dan Heng added. They walked a long way across the snowy plains toward the city. Suddenly, Bronya stopped. The whole group halted with her. What's wrong? Dan Heng asked. Bronia turned to Ino, speaking seriously. Mother is just ahead, at Everwinter Hill. Then why aren't we going up? Dan Heng frowned. Please understand. Mother instructed that only this young lady may enter Everwinter Hill today. Everyone went silent. Dan Heng scanned the faces around him, then said to Ino, Don't worry, even if something happens, we can protect ourselves. After a pause, Ino followed the narrow path up the hill. At the top of Everwinter Hill, Cocolia stood alone at the edge of a platform, gazing out over the white wastes. She only turned when she heard footsteps behind her. You've come, she said. Ino stepped forward. Why is this so important that even your daughter can't be here? Cocolia didn't answer directly. She spoke to the wind, as if to herself. I believed your words yesterday, only not completely. I am certain you are visitors from beyond the stars, but whether you have come to help Belobog and whether you conceal the source of this disaster, I have grave doubts. As Supreme Guardian, I have access to information others do not. 700 years ago, when Jarilo VI fell to the Legion, some people traveled far beyond the stars and made names for themselves in petty contests and fights, yet they failed to return reinforcements. When faced with the Legion's invasion, some factions chose to survive, some deemed the cost too high, and others, though willing, encountered the same fate as Jarilo VI. From only a few words you gave me, I cannot conclude you are the sort who can solve this problem. There is not enough time left to investigate you properly, so I must resort to direct methods. She raised her spear. The ground trembled. A machine the size of a mountain rose from the snow with a groan so deep it carried down the hill. Even those below could just make out its silhouette. Ino tilted her head. Cocolia claimed she wanted to test their sincerity, but it felt like Cocolia wanted to use something stronger than Gepard to measure Ino's strength. Calm down, Bronia ordered to those below. The Supreme Guardian has commanded that no matter what happens up there, we must stay here. March 7th stood on her tiptoes, stretching to see over the crowd. Star copied her. What's happening? She began, but Dan Heng cut her off. If the enemy Ino faces is too weak, she won't need our help. If it's too much even for her, going up there wouldn't help and would likely become a burden. Don't worry, she understands that. I just want to know what's going on up there. Cocolia had flown out in front of the machine, pointing her spear at Ino. Engine of creation, crush her, she commanded. Ino stifled a groan and readied erosion, the tip of her own spear poised. As the machine's massive fist descended and shadowed her, it halted, then swung its arm in a blur, its elbow striking Cocolia and sending her tumbling into the snow. Cocolia lay there, stunned, and scrambled to get up. For a long moment she struggled, her face a mask of confusion. She could not understand how Ino had handled herself. Ino let out a small, almost apologetic laugh. You still don't quite get it. Close range, weapon-to-organic combat isn't exactly my specialty, she said, as if explaining some oddity mauled of fate. Cocolia's heart raced. Whatever Ino had done, it told Cocolia that Ino's power was far beyond what she'd expected. She pushed to her feet and murmured, broken, Don't. Fight it. We will. Help you. Reshape this world. Then, without warning, Cocolia clutched her head and a strange black mist swirled over her. The fog crawled over her body, and for a second she seemed paralyzed. Ino lunged forward. The moment erosion touched Cocolia, a violent force erupted from her, throwing Ino back. This energy, the path of destruction? Ino muttered. Cocolia's upper body turned pitch black. Shards of ice encased her lower half. 4 ice blades floated like a fan behind her, and an icy blue crown seemed to sit atop her head. Her voice, when it came, was distorted. Oh dear, Alicia said lightly beside Ino. Does this mean that on the second day of our adventure, we've already met the final boss? Do we need to work out a strategy? She sang with a teasing tone. No need, Ino replied. Although she's stronger than Gepard, it won't be a big problem. Ha, I knew it. She's no match for Ino, Alicia chimed. However, she looks like she's being controlled by some external power. I haven't figured out a way to neutralize her without letting her revert or letting her hurt others. A clean win-win solution. I don't have one yet. While Ino was distracted by the banter, Cocolia had already fired a volley of ice spears. They never reached her. The defense charm Scrulum had given Ino flared to life, deflecting the attacks. Even if Ino stood stock still, undefended, the badge would take the hits, preventing her clothing from being cut. Cocolia lifted her left hand and energy coalesced into a golden vortex above it. "Aren't you going to interrupt her charge?" Alicia asked. "No need," Ino said. "This is a good chance to analyze the characteristics of destruction's energy directly." Cocolia completed her charge. The golden vortex shot into the sky and unleashed a titanic attack, what the ancient texts called creation's resounding finale. "We choice. Go fight against your fate." 31. Unexpected road. The astral express drifted through the stars. Welt pressed his forehead to the window and watched the snow-covered planet below. "I didn't expect an emergency on only the second day. Should we go down and help?" Himeko sat back calmly. Normally, this would be a tough situation for Dan Heng and March to handle alone. But with Ino there this time, I doubt we'll need to step in. I think she also wouldn't want her first trailblaze to be overly interfered with. "It's not our turn anyway," Welt muttered. "I know you want to get involved," Himeko said, "but let the young ones do this on their own. They need to build their relationships." Everwinter Hill. As Cocolia finished charging, a strangely shaped golden object fell from the sky like a meteor. Ino hesitated for a moment, then, mimicking Gepard, wrapped a layer of imaginary energy around herself as a shield. She reached out and touched the meteor. The instant it made contact, the object detonated. Snow on top of Everwinter Hill exploded upward in a spray dozens of meters into the air and then came down, dusting Ino's long blue hair white. She shook her head to shed the snow. Judging from the erosion marks in the drifts, the explosion's shockwave had shoved her back about half a meter. I still don't have enough data," Ino said, rubbing her temples. "I should use a more direct method." Erosion pointed at Cocolia, and the iron fist of the engine of creation slammed her into the snow again. Ino moved fast, letting Erosion's spear tip just touch Cocolia's body, and information poured into her mind. "Oh, so this is how the path energy of destruction works. Wait, something's off. Oh yes, this could be right." The path energy of destruction was chaotic and unpredictable. Ino tried to discern any pattern, like attempting to guess the next digit of a non-repeating decimal. Her concentration broke when Alicia's voice reached her. "Ino, isn't her condition pretty bad?" Ino's attention snapped to Cocolia. Only then did she notice Cocolia's body swelling, ballooning under the Stellaron's influence. "She's going to self-destruct. This is bad. If that explosion goes off here, everyone on the Astral Express will." Erosion pierced Cocolia, and 3 seconds later, a thunderous boom rolled over Everwinter Hill. The whole mountain trembled. Down below, Star's condition had suddenly turned strange. She gripped her chest as if she couldn't breathe, gasping. March 7th supported her so she wouldn't fall. Could the Stellaron inside Star be resonating with Jarilo 6 Stellaron? Someone guessed. Before Dan Heng could form an answer, new sounds, different from the explosion, rose and rushed toward them. "This is bad. That blast on Everwinter Hill triggered an avalanche. Run." Although Brania and the Silvermane guards had face-to-face experience against the Fragmentum at Everwinter Hill before, they'd never been through an avalanche there. At the shout, some of the guards thought it might be a warning cry, but a wall of snow hundreds of meters wide came hurtling down the slope faster than anyone could move. Star's distress and the Silvermane guards' cramped lines meant the Nameless group hadn't escaped far. Snow swallowed everyone instantly. The avalanche's energy finally abated on the flat suburban plain. A blue-haired man poked his head out of a drift and peered around. "My goodness, my first avalanche in Belobog. I didn't expect a one-sided clash between destruction and erudition to stir up such a mess. Fortunately, I'm experienced and ran off as soon as I smelled trouble. Too bad the others weren't so lucky. I'd better dig them out. Old Sampo can't resist helping people," he added with a grin as he trotted off. On Everwinter Hill, Ino felt sweat of tension prick at her brow for the first time. "Phew, good thing I made it. I hope Star and the others are okay." Cocolia lay beside her. Ino put a hand on the woman's head and read through her memories. Thank goodness, she's alive. Cocolia, controlled by the Stellaron, had been a live time bomb. Ino had thrown the bomb out of her body when the countdown read 1. Her plan was blunt but effective. The Stellaron controlled Cocolia using destruction's path energy. If Ino overloaded that connection with imaginary energy, she could sever it, at least temporarily freeing Cocolia. She wrapped Cocolia in an imaginary barrier, cutting off the Stellaron's link and restoring Cocolia to herself. The move combined Gepard's method with Herrscher-like abilities. Ino recalled that the Herrscher of Reason and the Herrscher of the Void could both generate imaginary barriers. She had applied the same technique to Cocolia. The Stellaron is the root of this, Ino said. I should check on Star and the others. At the foot of the mountain, Ino found Silvermane guards scattered and half-buried in snow, but March 7th, Dan Heng, Star, and Bronia were gone. Ino touched erosion to the top of one guard's head and sifted for any useful impressions. The guard had lost consciousness after being buried, but since the heads of all the guards were sticking out of the snow, someone must have been nearby and dug them out. Someone who knows the terrain and can hide in the snow, she muttered, already thinking of a likely rescuer. When she returned to the hilltop, Cocolia had already sat up. Why did you save me? She asked weakly. Ino tilted her head. You had no subjective intent to harm anyone, and objectively you couldn't control the explosion. The blast triggered the avalanche that buried everyone at the foot of the mountain, but they've already been rescued. Bronia, Cocolia's voice trembled. She should be fine. Most likely she was taken to the underworld, Ino said. Cocolia forced a bitter smile as she remembered how she'd been swayed by the Stellaron. My choices have hurt many people. I am no longer fit to be the Supreme Guardian. My successor is temporarily unable to fulfill the duties, and you so easily gained control of the engine of creation. Ino's eyes narrowed. What are you saying? The position of Supreme Guardian shall temporarily be yours. Cocolia's offer was soft but resolute. Ino blinked. Huh? Chapter 32. Channel Ino's thoughts raced, but she still couldn't reconcile Cocolia's logic. But, to become the Supreme Guardian, don't you have to believe in preservation first? I don't believe in Klipoth. The power to control the engine of creation depends on erudition. Cocolia's expression flickered with regret, then settled into something calmer. I didn't expect to see you react like that. Don't worry, even if I'm unworthy of my position, I won't force you to take on responsibilities you don't want. If you became the Supreme Guardian, many problems would be solved, but the choice would be entirely yours. Even if someone pushed you into the role, you could refuse to perform its duties, and nobody could compel or hold you accountable. I already owe the people of Belobog too much. Now, I'll return what I can. So, you intend to lift the blockade and reconnect the upper and underworlds? Cocolia shook her head, her gaze hardening. No, the blockade should be lifted, yes, but I won't be the one to issue that order. Bronia is in the underworld now. She can see for herself how people live there. For the future of Belobog, I will play the villain to the end. After making such a stir just now, I need to hurry back to Belobog to keep order. You want to go to the underworld to see your friends, right? While investigating smugglers, the Silvermane guards found some clues by the Goethe Hotel, in that alley already damaged by erosion. Sometime later, on the snow plains outside the city. How does it feel to defeat the final boss right off the bat? Eiley teased in Ino's head. I don't feel anything, Ino replied. What happened with Cocolia was less a battle and more a research session. I was mostly focused on gathering data about destruction's energy and on talking with you, Eiley. Then I'll ask it differently. Ino, what kind of person do you think Cocolia is? Subjectively, she didn't trust us. If I hadn't fought Gepard, under the Starcore's delusion, she might have had Bronia lead the Silvermane guards to arrest us, so she can't really be called a good person. But objectively, she didn't hurt us. And after breaking free from the Starcore's control, she didn't just blame everything on it. She's willing to accept responsibility, so she can't be considered a bad person either. Haha, I want to know, what would count as a bad person in your eyes, Ino? Someone who harms me or harms you, Eiley. Isn't that the same? After all, I'm inside your body right now. As long as you're fine, I won't be harmed. Besides that, it depends case by case. It's complicated. Oh, looks like we don't need to enter Belobog after all. A lump of snow in front of them shifted, revealing a flash of blue darker than her hair. Are you coming out yourself? Or should I do it like last time? Before Ino could finish, Sampo surfaced from the drift, a servile smile on his face. He rubbed his hands together as he approached. You're fast. Took them to the underworld and came back, completed a round trip, and even waited for me. Does the path energy of the Enigmata speed things up? Sister, don't make wild guesses. To tell the truth, Sampo knows of more than one passage between the upper and underworld. One of them is nearby. And in business, there's never just one person. There are brothers waiting on the other side. Wait a minute. Cocolia warned me that people who help you might have ulterior motives. Considering the masked fool's tendencies, if you want me to go with you, I have to be sure your intentions are sincere. If I could, I'd rip my heart out and show it to you, Sampo said, mock dramatic. I, Sampo, am definitely not making fun of you. No need for theatrics. Tell me what you're thinking. As soon as Ino spoke, she pressed her left hand to Sampo's shoulder. The familiar connection returned, and he froze. Belobog has been cut off from the outside for over 700 years, and you can not only contact other masked fools, but have run off to other planets a number of times. Compared with Cocolia, you're more like Jarilo 6's hidden boss. Oh, please don't flatter me. How could my little tricks impress a genius? Sampo protested, but his tone was sheepish rather than annoyed. You really are. Eiley trailed off approvingly. Anyway, I can't hide it from you, so I'll be frank. I, Sampo, have no virtue apart from being pragmatic. Ino pulled her hand away. You're measured for a masked fool. You have a moral bottom line, and you don't stoop to cruelty for fun. Fine, I trust you. Lead the way. All right, follow me. They hadn't gone far when Sampo stopped, crouched, and began to dig through a snowdrift. He quickly made a hole. Please enter. Stretch your legs in first. Ino sat on the snow and extended her legs. Go a bit further. Yes, that's it. Have a safe trip. Sampo pushed her gently from behind, and she slid down as if on a slide. After a brief darkness, the space around her twisted, a faint light appeared, and the descent slowed. Her feet touched solid ground again. Rising from the passage, Ino stepped into a place utterly different from the upper world. Here sunlight never reached. The sky above was an endless black. As she stepped out of the alley where the passage opened, the underworld revealed itself. A familiar figure stood ahead. March 7th. She should be March 7th. I don't know exactly what happened on the mountain, March 7th was saying when Ino approached, but there was this huge boom and the whole mountain started to shake. When it stopped, Dan Heng shouted, "Run!" It happened so fast. Before he finished, the snow rushed down with a whoosh and buried everyone. When we woke up, we were lying in your clinic, Natasha. Sampo brought you down, Natasha said. Him again. How does he always turn up at the right moments? I don't trust that sly fellow. He's a mysterious trafficker, Natasha replied. I don't know all the details of what he trades, but he has a lot of connections. He's gotten me many urgently needed medicines and helped the moles a lot. Slick as he seems, he probably doesn't have bad intentions. By the way, March 7th went on, following Natasha's gaze, that pretty young woman over there, isn't she the very capable friend you mentioned? March 7th ran up to Ino and examined her closely. Ino, are you all right? Ino shook her head calmly. I'm fine. Good. What happened on the mountain? It was such a commotion. Where are the others? Oh, right. Sorry, I was nervous. Dan Heng should be nearby, but Stella is still lying in Natasha's clinic. By the way, this is Dr. Natasha from the underworld. She's the one who saved us. Natasha waved a hand modestly. I didn't do anything special. You all just fainted and weren't hurt. You would have woken up anywhere by now. Just then a miner in work clothes rushed over, breathless and anxious. Natasha, there's a new patient. Natasha sighed. All right, my rare moment of rest is over. And judging by the time, that Silvermane Guards girl should be waking up soon. Let's go check on Stelly while we're at it, March 7th suggested. 33. Dr. Zhang Ino and March 7th walked into Natasha's clinic. A miner lay on a stretcher, his left leg covered in large red blotches and twitching uncontrollably, his face twisted in pain. His two companions looked anxious. When they saw Natasha, relief washed over them. That's great. I thought you'd left Boulder Town, one of them blurted. I'm the only doctor in Boulder Town, so I wouldn't dare leave, Natasha replied. Some kind people are helping me out right now, which is how I can steal a little leisure time from my schedule. Bring him over here. March 7th went to the back of the room, pulled aside the curtain, and glanced in. Steli still lay in bed, apparently dreaming peacefully. On the other bed, Bronya's fingers twitched. Just as Natasha had said, she was about to wake. Natasha's brow tightened as she examined the miner. Was he injured before and just kept working? She asked. Yes. Alger. He got scratched by debris from a machine in the mine 2 days ago, one of the men answered. Natasha looked at an empty medicine bottle nearby and frowned. According to the records from when the upper and lower layers were still connected, Alger's symptoms come from a microorganism native to the underworld. If you're scratched by metal, especially rusty metal, and don't clean it properly, there's a high chance of infection. It's not necessarily fatal, but recovery requires a special antidote. The clinic no longer has that antidote. The only place that might still have it is Rivet Town. Rivet Town? That place has basically been consumed by the fragmentum, the miner said. Yes, I was going to ask Fire to go, but don't hold out too much hope. Natasha's voice turned grim. Given Alger's current state, if there's no improvement by tomorrow, his leg will start to fester. At that point, I'm afraid amputation may be the only option. March 7th's face fell. Amputation. That's awful. The two miners bit their lips. One of them murmured, maybe, someone can try something else. Eno, can you do anything? Natasha asked. Eno hesitated. She had seen in Kokolia's memory that given Jarilovisi's level of technology, at least some people already knew bacteria and viruses were the cause of certain diseases. Knowledge in the underworld was generally lower than in the upper layer, but Eno assumed Natasha, as the only doctor in Boulder Town, would be among those who understood. I'm not sure it will work, but since she said this is a microbial infection, maybe. Eno explained. It sounds odd, but I can control a highly toxic virus, control how fast it divides, how it spreads, even the direction it moves inside the body. If I can get this virus into him, it could eliminate the microorganisms causing the infection. Fight poison with poison, huh? Natasha said slowly. It's a method, but if your virus gets out of control, Alger could lose more than a leg. I can testify. Eno really does have that ability, and she's formidable, March 7th added. Regardless, Natasha said, I must have his consent. Alger, did you hear what she said? Alger turned his head on the stretcher. Do it. If I'm going to spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair, I'd rather you end it now. One of the miners snapped at him, anger and fear burning through his voice. Don't talk like that. This isn't fragmentum erosion. There has to be a way to fix it. We still plan to drink together after the next geode dig. Alger forced a smile and fell silent. Natasha nodded. Since the patient consents, proceed, but we need to prepare. March 7th, can you freeze him temporarily, leaving only that leg exposed? Huh? I can, but why freeze him? March 7th asked. He's going to feel extreme pain. Freezing him until he loses consciousness will serve as an anesthetic. Ah, understood. March 7th complied. He froze Alger, leaving only the left leg uncovered. Eno crouched and laid her hand on the area with the densest red blotches. To everyone's astonishment, the marks faded visibly. In just over a minute, the thigh that had looked like a hive became rough and solid like the other leg. The red blotches vanished, as if they had never been there. It's done, Eno said calmly. March 7th lifted the freezing field. A few minutes later, Alger woke and sat bolt upright, disbelief written all over his face. It's really better? Yes, Natasha confirmed. The symptoms were caused by a fusiform bacterium. If it hadn't been treated by tomorrow, it would have invaded the nerves and blocked muscle relaxation. Then amputation would have been the only option. Are you a doctor too? Alger asked, looking at Eno. Eno shook her head. No, this is the first time I've used this method. You're the first person I've saved this way. No, doctors don't usually fight on the front lines, Natasha said softly. I misspoke before. The two miners helped Alger to his feet. Natasha disinfected and bandaged the wound, gave them precautions, and then let them go. Alger took a few awkward steps, then bowed deeply to Eno. I'm sorry, he said. March 7th blinked. Shouldn't you be thanking her instead? Why are you apologizing? Alger's face flushed. Before we came to Dr. Natasha's clinic, we'd heard rumors that people from the upper layer had come to Boulder Town. From Miss Eno's appearance and clothes, we thought you were ladies from some noble family up above, like the Supreme Guardian, people who don't care whether we live or die. We almost, if it weren't for Dr. Natasha, we might have tried to stop you. In any case, thank you for saving my life. If you ever need help, just say the word." The three men thanked Eno profusely and left the clinic. After they had gone, Natasha pulled back the curtain. "Little one, you're up. Come out." Bronia emerged slowly, shaking her head. "How is Mother? What exactly happened then?" Chapter 34. Truth. Cocolia is fine. She has returned to Belobog to stabilize the situation. Bronia let out a long breath at the news, relief softening her features. Then her face clouded with doubt. "Then why did Mother order the lockdown in the first place?" Eno answered, steady and calm. "She probably explained it to you like this. The Fragmentum's spread was getting worse, and more Silvermane guards had to be sent to the front. At the same time, she worried that pulling guards away would cause chaos in the underworld and affect the upper district." "That's what she told us at the time," Bronia said. "But abandoning the people in the underworld left them to fend for themselves. And just sending more Silvermane guards couldn't stop the Fragmentum's expansion. It only meant more soldiers dying." "Because that was her goal," Bronia blinked. "What do you mean?" "In short," Eno said, "Cocolia was corrupted by the Stellaron from a young age. She came to believe the only way to eliminate the Fragmentum was to embrace its source, destruction. The Stellaron promised that Belobog would be reborn after its destruction. So her reasoning was, if Belobog is to be reborn, she must accelerate Belobog's destruction first?" Bronia's voice went thin. What kind of logic is that? The Stellaron is obviously lying to her." Eno shook her head slightly. "Strictly speaking, it's not direct deceit. The Stellaron's message was, Belobog must pay a price for rebirth. But right now, the price the Stellaron asks for seems to be most of the living people in the upper and lower districts." "Why would she accept such a plan?" Bronia asked, incredulous. "In the face of the Fragmentum's growth, complete annihilation felt inevitable," Eno said quietly. "As the Supreme Guardian, she must have thought, no matter the cost, humanity will defeat the Fragmentum. If humanity itself has to be the cost, then so be it." Alicia, listening, couldn't hide her admiration. "Wow, Eno, that was incredible. You reconstructed Cocolia's mindset so vividly." Eno hesitated. That's because I know someone whose thinking was similar in some respects. In any case, she was driven by the Stellaron while in a state of utter despair." Bronia rubbed her forehead. "After all that, it still comes back to the Stellaron. Wait, if you could cut the connection between the Stellaron and Cocolia, doesn't that mean you can find the Stellaron's location? We could tell Uncle Yang and Himeko to seal it. Wouldn't that fix everything?" Eno's expression grew complicated. "Do you remember what Gepard told us when we first entered Belobog? Jarilos doesn't just have a Stellaron. There's an antimatter legion frozen there, and possibly even a Lord of Destruction. If we seal the Stellaron and Jarilov 6 begins to recover, the antimatter legion could awaken," she continued. "With only the current strength of the Silvermane guards, especially if there's no Lord of Destruction or emissary intervening on our side, the antimatter legion would be devastatingly vulnerable. So sealing the Stellaron might not lead to rebirth. It could be a kind of slow death as the environment shifts back and everything else follows," Eno finished. "But if we don't seal it, this place will be destroyed right away," Alicia said. "We have to prioritize the most immediate danger before worrying about the rest." Eno forced a small, awkward smile. "There's more. Although I managed to sever Cocolia's link to the Stellaron for a time, the Stellaron realized it couldn't beat me and hid its aura. It's as if I used Cocolia to block the Stellaron, and the Stellaron, in turn, blocked me." Bronia's eyes widened. "So, it's hiding itself through Cocolia. Even Miss Herta hasn't figured everything out about the Stellaron. I guess I subconsciously thought you could do anything, Eno. I'm sorry, we're all with Trailblaze, and I haven't done anything, and I'm placing all these expectations on you." Alicia chimed in before Bronia could say more. "There's no need to apologize. We should find Dan Heng and wait until Xing wakes up before deciding our next step." Bronia fell silent for a beat, then nodded. "All right, I'll go find Dan Heng. Xing, leave her to me," Alicia said, folded in the quick competence of a doctor. "I didn't follow everything you two discussed, but I'll take care of her." Eno added, pulling her gaze to Bronia. "And little girl, don't run around. Wearing that Silvermane uniform will only draw attention in the underworld." Bronia hesitated, then straightened, resolve settling over her features. No. If we don't at least try to undo the distrust and prejudice created by the lockdown order, it's even more unreasonable to expect the people of Belobog to unite and overcome this crisis. She finished without looking back and left the clinic. Alicia watched her go, then turned to Eno. Maybe you should follow her. You saw how those miners looked at the upper district earlier. I'm afraid. Eno paused only a moment, then hurried after Bronia. 35, cold-faced little blue dragon. Galaxy Batman, open your eyes. In her dream, Star, who was busy rehearsing to form a lifelong band with 4 trash cans that had somehow grown arms and legs, woke up with a start. She blinked at an unfamiliar ceiling. Little sleepyhead, you're finally awake. How are you feeling? Any place hurting? I had a weird dream, Star said. You and your companions were babbling about Stellaron and wishes. I couldn't make heads or tails of it. Now that you're awake, move around a bit. I'm Natasha, the doctor here in the underworld. You've been in my clinic most of the day. This is the underworld? Yes. It's the part the people above sealed off and mostly ignore. Life down here isn't as lively. People dig tunnels and mine. March 7th went out to look for Dan Heng, and Eno followed that Silvermane guards girl. Oh, and she kept talking about Stellaron a lot. How much do I owe for the medical fees? Don't worry about it. It was nothing. You all just fainted. I didn't really have to do anything. Outside Natasha's clinic, Star hadn't walked far when she found March 7th playing with a few kids as if she had completely forgotten the mission. Star nagged herself that when one companion is unconscious and another is missing, perhaps playing with children was the most reasonable option. March 7th, meanwhile, had to do some convincing. It's a deal. If I win hide and seek, I'll tell Big Sister all the secrets. Hey, when did you get here? I've been here a while. It's not that I came to play on purpose, let me explain. I went out to find Dan Heng, and these kids said they knew where he was, but only if I joined their mole party. To be in the mole party, you have to play their games, and you only prove your strength by winning. Understand? I understand. I'll come with you. We'll find Dan Heng together. What? Star, you're so thoughtful, and don't worry about Eno. After all that, she's totally fine. No one on Jarilov 6 could match her. March 7th put her hands on her hips and scolded a little. Hey, how long are you two going to whisper? Mole party time is precious. We're starting. Oh, right, this is my companion Star. She wants to join too. Can she play with us, Dark Hook the Great? Hook thought a beat, then nodded. I guess so? Fine. You two can be the catchers. Julian, hovering nearby, gave a look. Boss, they don't look very smart. Should we show them how it's done? Julian's right. Let's do a practice run. I'll hide. Come find me. After the 3 kids scattered, March 7th drew a deep breath. Being looked down on by children, humiliating. Star clenched her fists. She resolved to teach these brats a lesson with her finely honed hide-and-seek skills. With Star's help, they quickly found all 3. March 7th threw a victorious look at Hook. Well, Dark Hook the Great, spill the secret now. The mole party boss, you have to promise to keep your word. Hook saw the black-haired big brother go to the fighting club. Fighting, so the underworld enjoys rough entertainment. It's fun. Lots of kids go there. That sounds like trouble. Dark Hook the Great, take us there, now. No problem, but next time don't call me so bluntly. Properly, Dark Hook the Great. The mole party kids hustled March 7th and Star to the entrance of the fighting club. So many people. Hook's too short to see anything. Ugh, you didn't hear Hook complaining, did you? Star answered blandly. I didn't hear her say she was short. Good, then you heard everything. But adult fighting is boring compared to the mole party. Hook doesn't care. Julian, let's have a round. Boss, right now? Yes, right now. Julian and Hook rolled up their sleeves, brought their hands up, then slammed them down, only for Julian to flash a dejected look. He'd held up his index and middle fingers while Hook had a fist. The first fight ended in crushing defeat. So children's fighting is just rock, paper, scissors. They squeezed into the fighting arena just as an announcer's voice boomed with theatrical enthusiasm. Brothers and sisters, the next match will be the most exciting, thrilling, and shocking showdown of the day. The taciturn, impressively strong super rookie, cold-faced little dragon, recommended by the handsome dark blue gentleman. His opponent, the emotionless, high-explosive robot squad. Praise Svarog the Great. Since no one else volunteered to face the robot squad, this match will be fought by cold-faced little dragon alone. He himself has declared, "Whatever." Star's heart leapt. Wait, isn't that cold-faced little dragon Dan Heng? Quick, let's help him. Oh, an unexpected situation. Two spectators have jumped into the octagonal cage. Are they trying to team up with cold-faced little dragon? You two finally awake? Not just us. Ino made it down to the underworld too. She gave us a lot of important information. I didn't understand all of it, but we can go over it after we beat these guys. The first thing we did after waking up was look for you. Then we found you in trouble, so the Trailblazers and I came to save you. You're welcome. Even if you hadn't come, I could have handled it. You, sigh. I really can't count on your emotional intelligence. 3 self-destruct robots charged. Star, March 7th, and Dan Heng drew their weapons, each taking a position, and together ended the fight in moments. A beautiful strike. I declare the winners, Cold-Faced Little Dragon and 2 temporarily participating spectators. Spectators, can't you come up with nicknames for us too? Star said, half miffed. Then, Star offered seriously, Cold-Faced Little Pink Dragon? March 7th made a face. No thanks, that taste is far too poor. 36. Butterfly Quantum Scythe 5-star Big C, switching to Ino's perspective. After leaving Natasha's clinic, Ino found herself alone again. In the quiet, the conversation she'd had with Alicia kept replaying in her mind. Ino, you were already thinking ahead about the crisis Jarilova 6 might face after the Stellaron is sealed. Gepard told me about the Antimatter Legion's invasion 700 years ago. But, Ino thought, remembering March 7th's words, if we can't fix the catastrophe caused by the Stellaron, Belobog won't even have the chance to consider the Antimatter Legion. I've gathered information from others, she admitted to herself, and in doing so, I overlooked the most urgent problem. Erosion, huh? Alicia's voice, internal but clear, prodded. I don't think your issue is that you're ignoring Jarilova 6's immediate needs. It's that you lack confidence in Belobog's people. It's true the current Silvermane guards can't match the Antimatter Legion, Ino's thought continued. But even if the Stellaron is sealed, the Antimatter Legion won't necessarily spring back to life immediately. That's impossible, Alicia countered. If they could restart that fast, they wouldn't have stayed dormant for 700 years, only a memory in Belobog's history. So what will change in the short term after the Stellaron is sealed? Ino asked herself. It will reconnect Belobog to the outside world. Alicia, are you saying? Yes, Alicia said. Maybe in a few years, with upgraded equipment, the Silvermane guards will be able to repel the Antimatter Legion, or Belobog will find allies who can stand against them. And as your first stop on the Trailblaze, you don't want to see this place destroyed, do you? Ino had learned a lot in less than 3 days on Jarilo 6. She'd gained not only a firmer grip on the path she was on, but also a clearer sense of what her existence meant. The tragedy of the Elysian realm had made her feel like a virus driven by erosion, born with original sin, meant to inflict harm and be eradicated afterward, doomed to be the villain. But what had happened with Alger changed something for her. Erosion means making things worse, she thought. If erosion is my instinct, what if I direct it only at the things that make other things bad? If I make the bad things worse, won't that force the good things to survive? I can't control the instinct itself, but I can choose what it acts on. That means I'm not inherently evil, I'm a double-edged sword. Belobog had helped her reach that realization. She didn't want to see it swallowed by the Fragmentum or destroyed by the Antimatter Legion. The more reason she had to place her faith in Belobog's future. That's exactly what you would say, Alicia, she muttered to herself, smiling a little. You chose that path because you believed in the future, and both you and May prove that it worked. Then I should look for possibilities for Belobog, Ino decided. Start small. Maybe Bronya, as the chosen heir to the Supreme Guardian, can be the seed of Belobog's new life. Realizing that watching over Bronya was more important than dwelling on grand strategy, Ino focused. She hadn't been so absorbed in her conversation that she'd lost track of Bronya. Bronya's garb was too conspicuous in the underworld anyway. And as Natasha had warned, trouble found Bronya before she could even leave Boulder Town. Bronya had been surrounded by a crowd. From the murmurs, Ino could piece together what happened. Because of the fragmentum's erosion, many people, Rivet Town residents among them, had been forced from their homes and became displaced in other Boulder Town settlements. Boulder Town's production hadn't grown to match the influx. The pie hadn't gotten bigger, only the number of mouths to feed. That made resource conflicts common. Without the Geomarrow, Boulder Town couldn't maintain even basic order. A group of vagrants, fresh from losing a fight over a Geomarrow deposit to the local miners, had heard a traveler from the overworld was in town and decided to vent on Bronya. If the Silvermane guards hadn't retreated, my hometown wouldn't have been eaten by the fragmentum, one of them spat. I wouldn't be a vagrant, forced to leave everything. The Silvermane guards couldn't stop the fragmentum's spread. That's just your excuse, another cut in. They must have a way. They could eliminate the fragmentum if they wanted to. The vagrants weren't looking for a reasonable discussion. They saw Bronya, a lone, unarmed girl, and took the coward's route. If they couldn't take the Geomarrow, they'd take her. They leveled their guns at her. The local residents, afraid and unsure, fell back, turning into spectators. With no one stepping in, the vagrants grew bolder, their insults getting cruder. Bronya flushed with shame and anger. "You," she started. "You what? Still think you're some overworld noble? If you don't obey, take a bullet." Ino stood in the crowd, watching. A purple light flickered at her side as she suppressed her erosion instinct. She knew there was no need to act yet. Just then, the gunfire began. A bullet left the barrel, but a purple figure suddenly stepped between Bronya and the shot, slicing the bullet in half. "Who dares to act on our turf?" the newcomer snapped. "Want to try something else?" "Oh no, it's her! Run!" The vagrants fled without glancing back. "Shh! What cowards!" one of them cursed as they scattered. "Phew, thank goodness it was Miss Seal," someone near Ino murmured. "If not, someone might have died." Seal glanced at Bronya and then at the crowd. "I heard a Silvermane guard ran off to the underworld. Is that you?" "It's me," Bronya answered. "Thank you for saving me just now." "Shh, no need for thanks. Like everyone else, I don't much like the overworlders. But if something had happened to you here, the Geomarrow's authority in this area would have collapsed. And even if I hadn't stepped in, someone else would have." Bronya followed Seal's gaze and saw Ino among the onlookers. "So you've been following me all along. You didn't notice? Never mind. Later. For now, both of you come with me. Boss Oleg wants to see you." "The leader of the Geomarrow. I have something to say to him too. Thank you for leading the way." "You, sigh. Less talk, let's go." 37. Jongda mining area. Ino and Bronya followed Seal down into the great mine. The entrance was utter chaos, miners bleeding, arguing, and limping around. Sealy stopped to speak with a wildfire member near the mouth of the tunnel. "Irene, what's going on? Where's the boss? Why hasn't he come out?" "Irene," the woman answered, "you came just in time. Oleg and his team rushed over when they heard about a fight in the mine. We assumed it was one of those disputes between miners and vagrants, like before. But when we got here, the inner circle was occupied by a bunch of robots. Neither the mining crew nor the vagrants can get close. At first we thought it was a mass malfunction, excavators gone haywire. Then we realized these weren't the mine's machines at all. They showed up out of nowhere, pushed the miners and vagrants aside, and sealed off the main tunnel to the inner circle." Sela took a breath. "There's only one possibility for this. Svarog." Bronya and Ino both said, "Svarog? Yeah, he's become a third force down here, apart from the vagrants and the wildfire. All his subordinates are robots." "Robots turned hostile toward humans? I've never heard of such a thing. Machines should follow human commands. Miss, there's a lot you haven't seen in the underworld. We might clash with them soon. If you want, you can wait here." Bronya, who'd been set up for mockery by Sela, wasn't offended. "No, I'll prove you wrong about the Silvermane guards with my actions. If only I had a weapon." "Oh, not a cowardly miss after all. Irene, do you have any spare weapons?" Irene finished speaking with the injured wildfire members and came back with a flintlock. "This is an underworld piece. Do you know how to use it?" Bronya accepted the flintlock, loaded and cocked it in one smooth motion. "No problem. You look like you know what you're doing. Hope you won't hold me back. What about you?" Seele asked Eno. Eno drew erosion. I can handle myself. You can conjure a weapon out of thin air? All right, then follow me. They pushed deeper into the mine. Soon they found a cluster of vagrants pressing around a group of unarmed miners. Antonina stood in the middle of the miners, defiant. You cowards, she shouted. Why do you cower before Svarog's minions? What, did your parents never teach you to stand up for yourselves? The lead vagrant sneered. Are you kidding? Why risk your life fighting robots? Don't act holier than thou either. You dug up a huge geodiamond vein and kept it to yourselves. Who made you think you deserved it? The mine belongs to us. When the miners worked day and night, we didn't see you lift a finger. You ate and slept while we did the digging. Don't pretend to be innocent now. When you're hungry, shame doesn't fill your belly. The ore's not up for debate. Your loaded weapons are. Outrageous! Seele didn't hesitate. Before the vagrants could react, she had sprinted forward and kicked the gun from the hand of the vagrant aiming at Antonina. Don't be afraid, everyone. We have numbers. Move. The vagrants raised their weapons. Eno frowned, already calculating how to neutralize enemies without hurting friendly miners. Seele, however, was already in the thick of it. She was protecting the miners and fending off multiple attackers, a single person trying to keep control against several assailants. 2 gunshots cracked. Those vagrants who were about to take advantage of the chaos collapsed into pools of blood. Bronya matched Seele's pace, firing between Seele's shots so their bullets came in tight, coordinated bursts. After a handful of the ringleaders were put down, the rest scattered. Seele, is this young lady your friend? One miner asked. No, we just met in Boulder Town, Seele replied. From an amateur's view, your teamwork just now, it looked like comrades who fought together for years. Enough chatter. Antonina, have you seen Leader Oleg? Oleg, he went down into the inner circle with a team. He said he was going to drive off the invading robots. If the wildfire hadn't been here, those thugs wouldn't be so brazen. It seems the heart of the problem is still Svarog's robots, Irene said. So who is this Svarog exactly? Svarog appeared soon after the Silvermane guards were transferred. He quickly became a local tyrant in the underworld, claiming to be the guardian of humanity. Ownerless robots answer his command, and they occupied the core zone, forbidding anyone to approach. A human who commands robots? Never heard of such a thing. You folks haven't seen much down here, Irene said. Anyway, since you all fought well together, let's get to work. Antonina, can you take the mining crew back to the entrance and meet Irene? No problem, but be careful. There are a lot of robots ahead. They pressed on, and soon the tunnels were thick with the clanking and whir of machines. See those machines by the old stone ridge? Those are Svarogs. Let's find Oleg and stick close, Seele said. Instead of following the miner's passage, Seele leapt across a ledge and sprinted to the lowest level. Taking the shortcut, she and the 2 girls bypassed patrols and arrived where Oleg's team was confronting Svarog. Seele, these 2 slipped past your defenses. Impressive, Oleg said. Svarog, aren't you usually good at evaluating variables? What's your read on these 2 strangers? A red beam of light shot from Svarog's head, scanning them from head to toe. Seele, affiliated with Wildfire, and when the beam swept over Eno, its tone shifted instantly. High-risk target detected. Parameters exceeded. All units switched to level 1 combat mode. Clara, withdraw. Clara, the white-haired girl beside Svarog, froze. She had never seen Svarog this tense before. His reaction was almost panicked. A voice from the robots hissed, "No room for negotiation. Then come." "No, there is room for negotiation," Eno said calmly. She raised erosion above her head. A pulse of virus-laden electromagnetic waves rolled out, spreading through the mine like a low fog. The waves hit every machine in the great mine. Svarog and his units froze where they stood, their gears, servos, and processors stilled, and despite struggling, none of them could move an inch. 38. You came at the right time. When the last of the machines froze in place at the very bottom of the great mine, the underworld and Bronya alike fell into an uneasy silence, broken only by the low hum of stalled engines. Clara was the first to move. She ran to Svarog and spread her arms. Please don't hurt Mr. Svarog." Eno watched him with calm eyes. "You should know, I came to negotiate, not to hurt him." She raised erosion and spoke as if reading a report. My target raised its weapon and released electromagnetic waves, carrying an electronic virus across the entire mining area. Evaluation: this virus could seize control of any machine at any time. But the target only stripped the machines of their ability to act. Conclusion: it only wants to stop the conflict. It has no hostile intent. Eno set erosion down, the muzzle tip tapping the ground. The machines around them regained mobility at once. Recalculating, Eno continued, this target is far beyond our current model, but estimations show a 100% probability it will overturn Belobog's current situation and a 0% probability of success by violent means. Conclusion: negotiating with it is the most reasonable choice. Sela and Bronya exchanged a look that said, "That's it? It's over?" Members of the underworld, Oleg included, stared at one another in disbelief at how suddenly everything had shifted. Oleg finally found his voice. "Svarog," he asked, "they say you were one of the machines that fought in the Emperor War 700 years ago. Is that true?" Retrieving data according to Target's query, rumor confirmed. One of my original purposes was to be deployed in that war. Bronya's composure cracked. Then, the Stellaron. How much do you know about the Stellaron? A messenger robot hurried in. 4 people have reached the upper defensive line. One is Natasha. The other 3 are unknown. One black-haired, one gray-haired, one pink-haired. They claim to be Eno's friends. Eno nodded slowly. Under Svarog's guidance, the newcomers soon reached the lowest level of the mine. "Are we interrupting something important?" Natasha asked, stepping forward. "No," Oleg answered. "You're here at exactly the right moment. Svarog was just about to talk about the Stellaron. Please continue." Svarog used the pause to compile the relevant files and audio records. Requesting database access. Entry number 3175. Encryption. Highest. Access approved. Playing. Other voices came from Svarog's internal speakers. The record was blunt. Belobog's first Supreme Guardian, Alicia Rand, had wished on the Stellaron. That wish had triggered the Cold Wave, burying the Antimatter Legion and leaving Jaralova 6 with Belobog as its last bastion. What? Belobog's greatest Supreme Guardian caused the world to be covered by the Cold Wave? Someone breathed. Data entry 3175 playback complete. Now playing data entry 24832. The next file revealed something worse. Successive Supreme Guardians of Belobog had known that the Stellaron was the source of the disaster. Yet without exception, they hid that fact from the people. Data entry 24832, playback complete. Stellaron-related data display ended. No one spoke for a long moment. Then Bronya whispered, "So that's why the Stellaron told Kokolia it was an ally of the Supreme Guardians. If it told that to Kokolia, it probably promised the same to many of the 17 Guardians before her, and it influenced them." A hollow helplessness spread through Bronya. "When dawn breaks, the Guardian shall be like a shining star, illuminating the people's way. When night falls, the Guardian shall be like a warm hearth, comforting hearts." She faltered. "All the things I followed, were they all lies?" She swayed, losing her balance. Seal grabbed her arm and steadied her. "You need to talk to someone. You don't have to bear this alone." "I just need to sort it out in my head," Bronya muttered. "All these fragments of history, everything I learned, it's a mess. I don't know what to believe." "You're not as lost as you think," Seal said gently. Where did that determined Bronya go, the one who was about to speak with Chief Oleg? While Bronya tried to steady her thoughts, Eno turned to March. "How did you find this place?" "Not long after you left, March woke up," March replied, "and we found Dan Heng at the Fight Club. Then we heard about trouble in the Great Mine, so we rushed over with Dr. Natasha." Dan Heng glanced at the machines around them. As we moved deeper into the mine, all the machines stopped at once. It was unusual. Eno lifted erosion. "Yes, I spread the virus with electromagnetic waves." March winced. "You said your toxicity was strong, but spread slowly." Eno blinked. "From erosion-emitting waves to all robots being infected took about 10 seconds. Compared to the anti-organic equation during the Emperor Wars, my spread speed is slow." March and Dan Heng exchanged a look, speechless. March turned to Natasha. "If Eno's negotiation with Svarog hadn't gone smoothly, would you still have come with us?" "Of course," Natasha said. "As leader of the underworld, I couldn't stand by while you fought alone for its sake." March looked surprised. "Wait, Dr. Natasha, you're the leader of the underworld? Then what about Uncle Oleg?" "Oleg has always acted as my proxy. handling many public affairs so I can focus on running the underworld, keeping people fed and helping where I can. I've also been preparing a plan to resist Svarog. You arriving completely overturned the plan I had been working on for a long time, Oleg added. For that, I owe you all my thanks. Because of you, we learned a shocking truth. We are convinced of your motives, so I won't hide anything. Whatever you decide next, the underworld will cooperate. Ahaha. Actually, we didn't do much. It was Eno's doing. Sela grinned. Next, we should get back to the overworld, find the Stellaron, and have Uncle Yang and Himeko seal it, right? But even Eno can't find where it is, March said. No, Dan Heng said. March has a point. Even if we go back, how do we get into the overworld? Right, Sampo is nowhere to be found. Are we going to force our way through the checkpoint? If we do that, we'll become fugitives across the city before we even find the Stellaron. If Cocolia falls under the Stellaron again, the Silvermane guards will almost certainly seal off the likely areas. Then, the only option left could be violence. No, Natasha said firmly. After learning the truth, I think both the underworld and the Silvermane guards are victims. I don't want anyone hurt. Seal nodded. There may be a way to bypass the Silvermane guards. The underworld kept a cautious stance with Sampo. Though his origins are unclear, during our investigations, we traced the places where Sampo disappeared and confirmed the location of a path to the overworld. That's great, someone exclaimed. Only one problem, Natasha said. The path's in Rivet Town. Chapter 39, Rivet Town. Rivet Town, the place swallowed by the Fragmentum? If I don't end up fighting a Fragmentum beast there, I'll feel cheated, someone joked. Before we head into Rivet Town, let's go over what we know. Maybe we missed something, March 7th said, waving a hand. Yes, Sampo is nowhere to be found. Could he be the final boss, hiding and waiting to ambush us? Another voice suggested. Sampo does look suspicious in many ways, but I don't think he'd go that far. Dan Heng replied thoughtfully. If he hadn't led us into the underworld, we never would have heard the truth from Svarog. Dan Heng is right, came another voice. Before I came down here, Sampo had already confessed everything. As a moderate within the Masked Fool, he bears us no ill will. Otherwise, I wouldn't have used the passage he recommended to reach the underworld. Oh, right. As expected of Eno, do nothing and everything gets resolved, someone muttered. That's not it, another cut in. The most important thing now is locating the Stellaron. That will require everyone's help, especially yours, March 7th. So you want to use one Stellaron to find another? March 7th asked. I don't know if that will work, the speaker admitted. How will we know unless we try? Someone else countered. If we can get back to the upper zone, we can contact Uncle Yang and Himeko. Then everyone can brainstorm together. So now, only Bronia remains to be convinced. As outsiders, we were surprised to learn Belobog's truth. And Bronia, she's the successor to the Supreme Guardian, one of them said. That's right, Bronia, she wouldn't, the voice trailed off. Natasha glanced to the side. I don't think anyone needs to worry too much. Bronia is strong, and she and Seal are close. With Seal's support, Bronia will find her confidence again. Rivet Town is Seal's hometown. Once you decide what to do, Seal will go with you. All right, someone said. If there's nothing left to analyze, what are we waiting for? Let's move. The 6 of them left the Great Mine. The rest of the Wildfire and Svarog stayed behind to restore order. Eno's group arrived at Rivet Town's entrance to find Fragmentum creatures wandering through the streets. March 7th raised an eyebrow at Eno. We finally get to show what we can do, March 7th. Say something to boost morale? Eno teased. There are monsters everywhere. You can't relax now, March 7th replied flatly. Ugh, I knew you wouldn't be reliable at a crucial moment, Eno sighed. Since we're looking for a route, let's split up. 3 of us in one group, Seal and Bronia together, and you, Eno, you're alone. Eno? March 7th sounded surprised. I meant for tactical reasons, Eno went on. You alone are more powerful than the 3 of us combined. If I were with you, I'd hesitate to use some of my methods. This way, each group can cover more ground and stay in contact. If you find anything, alert the others. They broke up and moved out. Eno suddenly relaxed. Alicia. Calling me now because you did so well and didn't get enough praise? Alicia's voice purred. I understand that feeling. Eno did great just now, so I'm praising you. Actually. Ino's words faltered, but a small smile tugged at her mouth at the praise. Ahem. Well, what is it? I wanted to talk since I'm alone, Ino said. What do you want to talk about? Alicia asked. Anything. For example, when I controlled all the robots in the mine earlier, did that stir anything in you? No, not really. That's just your style in combat, Alicia replied. But I know what you're getting at. Over these past few days, as you were exploring Belobog, I was getting used to this body. If I controlled it fully, I might be able to use the imaginary energy inside to create some exclusive moves of my own. For example, Ino encouraged. It's only speculation, so I can't give you an example yet, Alicia said coyly. In Belobog, you handle things so well, there hasn't been a chance for me to act. It seems I'm like everyone else on the Astral Express, unnecessary. Just follow Ino and everything is solved, Alicia teased. Rivet Town wasn't large. As Ino climbed a set of nearby stairs, she spotted Seal and Bronya lingering on a platform, talking instead of searching for an exit to the upper zone. Bronya looked better than she had, scanning the surroundings. Seal, Bronya asked, if we hadn't come with you, were you planning to charge into the fragmentum by yourself? Seal shrugged, expression unbothered. Yeah, what's so surprising about that? I'm used to it. That's reckless. The Silvermane Guard's regulations say that patrolling the fragmentum needs at least 4 people and a dedicated communications officer. Those are Silvermane Guard rules. Don't try to apply them to us, Seal said. And you've seen the underworld to some extent. The wildfire couldn't meet those requirements anyway. That's true. If the guards hadn't retreated back then, Bronya began, but stopped. Don't get stuck on that, Seal said. Look over there, that house on the far hill. That's Natasha's old orphanage. After Uncle Oleg found me, he sent me there. I spent more than half my childhood there. Natasha's voice reached them. That house was donated by a generous merchant long ago. Whoever he was, he must have been very kind. I miss those carefree childhood days too. Are you all right? I just felt a little nostalgic. That's all, Bronya admitted. Weirdo, Seal teased. Look down. See those messy stalls? That's Rivet Town's market square. Even if we can't find Sampo's passage, we can stock up. Many of the supplies in Natasha's clinic are running low. While we're here, we should pick some up. After the two moved on, Ino popped her head out from behind the platform. Alicia, why did you tell me to hide earlier? Would it be bad if they saw you? It's not that it would be bad, Alicia said with a laugh. You just missed something exciting. Exciting? Just keep following them, Alicia purred. Something very interesting might happen between Seal and Bronya, those two adorable girls. 40. Cyan Sea. In Rivet Town's market, Bronya and Seal ran into a handful of fragmentum creatures. You seem calmer now than when you handled those thugs earlier, Seal said. You don't have to treat me like a rookie. I know these fragmentum monsters. I've fought them plenty of times, Bronya replied. They followed the passable lane, Ino trailing a short distance behind them as Alicia had instructed her to give them space. Soon the pair reached the orphanage entrance and found a hulking outerverse ice prowling inside. Heh, no wonder there were fewer monsters around the orphanage. This big blue thing's been holding court, and it's huge. I've never seen one that big before, Seal said. I've only seen monsters this size on the front lines of the restricted zone, Bronya said. Veterans say even stronger ones live there. Oh? Big, but not that strong? Then let's finish it fast. Seal lit up. With a flare of light and a sudden rush, she launched forward in a headlong assault. Vanish with the butterflies, phantom of the old days, she cried, bringing her scythe down on the outerverse ice. Her blade sank in, but instead of cleaving it, the scythe jammed. Bronya raised her hand and fired, not at the monster, but at Seal's scythe. With a metallic clang, the weapon shifted, freeing itself before the cold could take hold of Seal. An ice blossom formed in the creature's palm and detonated overhead, spewing a storm of shards. Seal, moving at high speed, dodged the barrage flawlessly. Bronya took cover after the shot. As the rain of ice faded, she sprang up and seized the opening, hitting the creature's left shoulder. The old wound Seal had opened split further, a clear fissure running from shoulder to chest. Bronya's third shot skimmed its eye, no damage, but enough to draw its attention. They swapped positions instantly. Seal flashed forward, driving her scythe along the crack. The outerverse ice's body fractured, and like the regretful memory of a warden who had once held back an enemy's full strength, the creature dissolved into nothing. "Humph, I could have handled that alone, but fighting with you is more fun," Seal said, breathless. Bronia walked over, and the two high-fived in perfect sync. "It should be quiet now. Let's go inside and look around. I vaguely remember some supplies in that corner. Natasha could use them. When we were kids, we were always getting scrapes. It'd be great if we could find the passage Sampo used to run through. After all this time, will those supplies still be any good?" Seal asked. "Huh? You think people in the underworld care about expiration dates? If we can use them, that's what matters." They searched. Seal didn't find the ointments she'd hoped for, but Bronia pulled something small from the rubble, an object that looked part ornament, part toy. This is from my childhood," Bronia murmured. "A childhood? The upper and lower districts have been sealed for over 10 years. Not a single Silvermane guard has come down. A young lady like you showing up in the underworld would be big news," Seal said, eyes widening. Bronia's breath hitched. I remember now. I used to live here. Before the architects took me away, before the Supreme Guardian, Cocolia, adopted me, I lived here. I'm from the underworld." "You're from the underworld? You mean Cocolia's adopted daughter?" Seal stammered. "Yes, I was the architect's chosen successor," Bronia said quietly. "One day I'll become the guardian who leads Belobog. The architect said the selection of a guardian's successor spans all of Belobog. It can take years, even decades. During that time, every child of age in the upper and lower districts is tested, and in the end, one child with the right qualification is chosen. I was chosen and taken to the surface." She fell silent. Eno and Alicia, who had been listening from a distance, exchanged surprised looks. "Oh my, I never expected Bronia to have such a past," Alicia chirped. "Does that mean she and Seal are—" "This story just keeps getting better. Children at the orphanage come and go. I never thought one of us would become the future Supreme Guardian," Seal said in a stunned voice. "Does Natasha know? Has she been hiding this all along?" "I don't think so," Bronia said. "The selection is absolute secrecy. The chosen child must sever ties with their past completely. That's why I became Cocolia's daughter. Besides being the future guardian, I have no other identity. But I'm so far from being what I should be. Every day I watch Silvermane guards die in the Fragmentum," Bronia went on in a raw tone. "I see the underworld suffering, and in the end I can do nothing about it. Why was I chosen? How can I be worthy?" she whispered, choking on the question. Seal's expression hardened. "Hey, have you said enough? All this self-pity is deafening." Bronia flinched. "A few words of whining, and you think I'll feel sorry for you? You can hide in palaces and overthink things, avoiding the front lines. But the people in the underworld live hand to mouth. Just surviving is everything to them. I don't fully understand what Svarog meant, but I know Belobog is about to change in ways we've never seen. New problems will come, and nobody's going to fix them by crying. Don't you want to protect everyone? Do you think moping here will solve anything?" Bronia rubbed her eyes, the turmoil in her expression slowly settling. "You're right. Self-pity gets me nowhere. Thank you, Seal. When I get trapped in negative thoughts, people usually try to comfort me. No one has ever just snapped me out of it like you did." "Humph. Comforting isn't my thing, but I'll smack sense into you as many times as you need. You're carrying too much weight. Why drag yourself down like this? As Belobog's future guardian, I must examine my actions and thoughts constantly," Bronia said. Yes, Lady Future Guardian," Seal teased lightly, a grin tugging at her mouth. "From the same orphanage as me, what are the odds? Since we're here, want a tour? I remember everything from my childhood." Bronia smiled faintly. "All right, indulge me a little. Eno, next we should go to our favorite spot. It'd be great to get a little closer," Seal said. Eno glanced around and leapt onto the orphanage roof. The pair climbed up behind her, reaching a place with an open view, unaware of a slight movement far behind them. "Look, over there." That was the roughest street in all of Rivet Town. That's where I grew up. I hung with the older kids, always thinking about where the next meal would come from, until Leader Oleg took me in and brought me to the orphanage, Sela said. Then I followed Natasha to learn to read, and from 10 I went out with Oleg to check mining areas, sometimes confronting thugs, Bronia added. "That's hard," Seal said softly. I shouldn't make light of it. Why so serious? That's the worst part of you, Bronya teased. Seal softened. I'm a little jealous. Since I can remember, my life has been study, etiquette, training. People always reminded me, remember your identity, Bronya. That goes against the architect's teachings. A lady shouldn't speak like that. Some might envy that life, but it feels constraining. To have every goal set by others, can you imagine that? No, Bronya said, curiosity brightening her eyes. But what vulgarities? Did you say that got you scolded? Clearing her throat, Seal said in a deadpan voice, In the name of the architect's will, I shall poke this gun into your nostril. Alicia and Eno burst into laughter at the absurdity. Alicia's giggles synchronized with Seal's straight face. Eno had been trained to stifle laughter, but the unexpected delivery broke something in her, and she actually laughed, a genuine, heartful sound for the first time. That's hardly enough, Seela said, still grinning. Sounds like I'll have to teach you some real slang. Bronya couldn't keep a straight face either. No, at least it's more exciting than a nostril poke. I never thought I'd be having a heart-to-heart with Belobog's future guardian. Growing up, I rarely saw anyone from the surface. From the adults' tales, I thought you were all arrogant. I heard veteran Silvermane guards say that before the lockdown, upper and lower didn't differ. We ate the same food, shared the same conversations, celebrated the same festivals. Our upbringing might be different now, but the joys and sorrows, the bonds between people, are the same and must be shared. Belobog is on the brink of a historic shift. The lockdown's barrier won't fall overnight, but I want to build a bridge between the upper and lower districts, bring back the days without you and me. I'm not good with big speeches, but if that's the future you want, I'll help build that bridge with you, Seelie said. Thank you, Seelie. Your trust means a lot. Seela blushed, an unusually shy expression, then reached out. Her right hand and Bronia's right hand brushed for an instant and then flew apart. Girls are really nice together, Alicia observed, wiping a smile from her lips. Eno felt something new opening up inside her, like a door that had been closed for a long time, slowly inching open.